Man, what's up, everyone? It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been in the tavern. I had to dust it. Oh man, I'm absolutely exhausted tonight. How is everyone doing out there? Today was just a bit of a long one. Sorry, I'm looking at something at the moment that you guys can't see. So, as I said recently in my whatchamacallit, my Discord. That's the word I was looking for. My Discord. I was going live tonight because I wanted to sort of chat about a couple different things that I recently came across. I say that as almost as if I wasn't I wasn't prepared for these things. Not necessarily what I'm getting at. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight is that I recently got this book. Oh, Jesus. Oh, hey, thanks, Glenn. 16 months. Jesus Christ. That is crazy. That's crazy. I've been an affiliate for that long. It's also crazy the fact that you guys are willing to support me. I appreciate it. I really do. It's very kind of you. Yeah, so yeah, so yeah, I know. It's absolutely insane. So I recently backed this book on Kickstarter. I don't want to say I recently backed this book. But not too long ago, I came and did a video where I talked about some of the stuff that I had recently backed. And what's up, A-Body? I talked about some of the things that I had recently backed, and one of them was a book called Vendors of the Veil. And I'm always looking for, odd, interesting Kickstarters, fun things that I can add into my collection. And when it comes to vendors and shops and stuff, a lot of times those are things that I will randomly generate. I mean, I'll be real, I use AI generation for I use ChatGPT to generate things like inventories of magic item shops and stuff. Just because as long as you give it the right kind of prompt, you can kind of curate what it is you're looking for. But it is nice to have something like this that I can sit down and read through, whether it's sitting here, you know, in the middle of play and like looking something up, or possibly just like when I'm sitting down in bed at, you know, in the afternoon, or whenever I'm, you know, before I go to work, or like at night when I'm just relaxing, you know, at the end of the day, I keep my iPad over there because I like to pull these books up and sit down and read them and just kind of get some different ideas for possible encounters later on. And vendors are always a fun one. You know, shops are always interesting because when your players are out and about, out in the wilderness, you kind of have structured encounters that you're going to run into. You know, you're going to have the, why is this so loud? You know, you're going to have like the bog standard dungeons. You're going to have the random encounters out in fields and forest and mountains and all that jazz. But those are only going to get you so much, because, you know, in a dungeon, you're not necessarily, you know, you can run into NPCs and they might be friendly, they might be adversarial, but you're not really going to be spending a whole lot of time there. When you're doing random encounters, there are obviously that, they're just random encounters. But when it comes to shops, that is something that your players can grasp onto. That is something that you want to have a little bit more of. You want to have a little bit extra of. You gotta have, yeah, you have to have somewhere to buy potions. And so shops and the NPCs attached to them become almost integral parts of your campaign and your adventure at large. I mean, for example, I have two great examples of this. In the P5 campaign, oh, fucking stink bug. 1 minute. Speaking of random encounters, fucking stink bug here. I'm gonna cast Shocking Grasp with my electric fly swatter on him. There. Now his 1 HP is none HP. So in the Phandalin 5 campaign, whenever that campaign was really taking place back in Phandalin, there was the classic Stonehill Inn, Stonehill Inn, and it was ran. Oh my God, everything just went blank in my mind. Tolbin, Jesus. It was ran by, you know, our good friend Tolbin Stonehill, the proprietor of Stonehill Inn, and, you know, we're here for everyone's, you know, comfort and food and whatever we can supply. We got rats in the basement, you know, and we got some stuff around. You know, and Tolbin became a very classic character, and you know, he was very present, and when it oh my God, yeah, Pugsley. He was a hoot. You know, and eventually, you know, because of Tolbin's relationship with the party, eventually that got tied in with Celine Varnaster and an NPC named Maggie, and became like an entire storyline. And that was all birthed out of just this random NPC that ran a tavern. So, and with my other group, my library group, the GS group, they befriended and aided in the rescue of the magic shop proprietor, Thimblewick Sparklegear was his name. They saved his life, which inadvertently did cause the destruction of the entire town of Crossergate that they had, you know, recently ventured to, but they saved it and they become heroes of the town, and now they have connections and allies there and all kinds of good stuff. So there's always something to play into when it comes to vendors and shop owners and stuff like that. And Aubrey Silverspun having a past with me, and that's always the stuff that you want to try and play into when, especially if you're running longer form campaigns, or campaigns that take place with a centralized location. For example, right now with my my New Age Into the Veil campaign, that campaign is kind of centralized around Brindle. So it's my responsibility as the GM to say, okay, what stores are going to be in this location, and what are their NPCs going to be like, and what can I expand upon with them? And that's where something like this book can come in handy. If you're a DM and you're attempting to sit down and flesh out your own town, a book like this is great because you really only need like 4 to 5 main stores, in my opinion, to really start with. The first and most important is a general store. You need something like you need something where you're going to be able to buy general goods, where you're going to be able to buy camping supplies and adventuring supplies and food and water and stuff like that. And in this particular book, that's where we have general stories. It's all the stuff that's available in the player's handbook under adventuring gear, and that's to be expected. That is what you want first. Next up, you want a blacksmith. You want somebody that's going to be able to maintain weapons and metal armors. Moving from there, and kind of in conjunction, if you want to expand upon that, you will generally want a leather worker, because leather workers are going to be able to give you leather armor and clothing and stuff like that. Up next, the fourth one that I think is good to have is some kind of like possibly woodworker / fletcher. I know they're two really different things, but woodworkers could be fletchers. If you don't know, fletchers are people that work on bows and arrows. Lastly, you need an inn/tavern. You need some place where players can go to rest up, get a meal for the night, possibly talk to some patrons to hear some rumors. And inns and taverns are often places where there's going to be a job board or some kind of posting area where you can go to get some kind of adventure or job. In respect to these, comparing to The Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns, this would more compare to The Seeker's Guide to Enchanted Emporiums. Twisted Taverns is more focused on is more focused on the association of specific taverns, where it's where Vendors of the Veil, there is taverns in here. Twisted Taverns is definitely more getting hyper specific into taverns. It's giving you the different rooms in them, the different the different patrons that are there, and also giving menus for stuff. Whereas I feel that Vendors of the Veil is going to have a closer similarity to Enchanted Emporiums, which honestly I really haven't done much with. I haven't really read through this book. Is that my dog Dova? Hi, buddy. Hi, Bubba. Come here. Come here. Hi. There he is. He doesn't show his face on screen much. Hi, my boy. Oh, big Dova. Big Dova. There's your good boy. There's your good boy. Yeah. He's not my pug, but you know what? He'll do in a pinch. Oh, There's my boy. Oh, that feel good. Yeah, ear scratches. All right, buddy. Okay, you go have fun. You're not getting any of my trash up here. You're gonna go lay down? Is he going to lay down? He's completely destroying my blankets. And I think he's now just down to the bare bed because he's pulled all the blankets up. Yep, and now he's spinning in a circle, finding magnetic north. He's pulling my big quilt into a corner. Is he gonna lay down? He roots like a pig. I know you can't see this stuff, but the way that the corner of my room is set up is that the ceiling is like slanted down, and that's like what's right above my bed. And so there's a little spot in the corner where I have a bunch of pillows and blankets stacked up, and it's where he is right now, creating a tiny little nest for himself. Dova, what are you doing? Dova, what are you doing? And now he's leaving. Now he leaves. He did nothing. He did absolutely nothing. What kind of stuff would Dova sell compared to a pug? Nothing. He just sells chaos. He sows chaos. He literally came in here, made me give him pets and love, and then destroyed my bed, which I'm going to have to remake. And then he leaves. He doesn't even go to sleep or nothing. He just destroys. What a dog. Love him to death. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I think Vendors of the Veil would more closely associate with Enchanting Emporiums versus Twisted Taverns, but I think the degree to which Enchanted Emporiums is put together is gonna be far more expansive. The only reason I say that is just because from what I saw at a quick glance, and I appreciate this a lot more, everything you need for each one of the Vendors of the Veil is a 2-page spread. So if I had this physical book, which I actually think that I'm getting this print on demand, but I think I already set up for that. But if you have this as a physical book, you can just open it up and there's the whole spiel, versus something like Enchanted Emporiums where you're gonna have, some outside art. You're gonna have the introduction. You have the main NPC, some of their history, some of their ideals, their goals, what's going on in their life. Then you have this, granted, beautiful depictions of maps, full descriptions of the shop, including including like almost as if it was a kind of a dungeon, because that's almost how they set these up to be. And then you have possible quest hooks, in-shop events, the magic items that are associated with them. So it has its purpose, but it's just so much more expansive. Also, we need to change how this one. Here's a little thing that I want to point out. If you are somebody who does a lot of book reading with PDFs, or if you just look at PDFs, as much as somebody like me, in a lot of PDF readers, I personally use Foxit, Foxit. It's a fairly robust PDF reader. A button like this up here, I know it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, there we go. So this button right here, okay, that says, you can't see what I says when I hover it, but it says separate cover page. If you don't have that selected, you'll get, you know, a cover like this. One second. Transform. Copy transform. So you'll get a cover like this, which kind of looks right. But as you're scrolling through it, you'll notice stuff is like this right-hand page, you know, or this first page where it says introduction should continue with this left page where it says buying magic items, and Favelli's art should be next to House of Favelli. Clicking that button up there does that. So if you're ever reading a PDF and like you're kind of like having to go catty corner across the screen just to read like to the next line, it doesn't really make sense for the layout, click that button. You can even see like right here, the art literally flows that way from one to the next. And it's just a weird thing. I don't know. I never really talk about that. And that's one thing that I've had to deal with because I deal a lot with PDFs since I run, you know, a lot of digital games. And that's something that I've just learned over the years. And I don't know if a lot of people know that you can do that. And it's such a minor thing too. But like when you look at as many PDFs as I do, having that proper formatting feels important, because now look at this. It makes sense. Here's the art. Here's the information. Here's a better flow from page to page, because it's now all about Madame Favelli on this page spread. This is all about the rooms of the House of Favelli. Here's the NPCs and the quests. Here's the magic items. And then we move on to the next one. Again, it's a minor thing, but I think it matters sometimes. That's why this one works, because it doesn't have that problem. If we did that, things wouldn't align as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's a minor thing, but it's something I'm definitely like very specific about. All right. What is this? I actually don't know this. I want to get into this book real fast. I want to see some of these shops. I'm not obviously going to go into the whole thing. By the way, if you are interested in this is called Vendors of the Veil. It's by Every Trick Books, which I can't say that I've ever heard of them, but they do have a website that you can... What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Is it making me sign into my account on the Twitch chat? What? Now I have to get a code on my phone just so I can send out this email. That is so weird. There it is. Every Trick Books. You know what? Let's do... Nope, wrong one. This one. There we go. We'll check this out real quick just before we jump into it. Oh, look at that. The current Kickstarter. I don't think they're doing, like, I think it's already well past its point of being able to grab on here. Oh, I did only get the PDF. That's right. I didn't get the hardback. Okay, cool. I didn't know. What else they got? They have Breakout from Blood Moon Bay. A short 10 to 12 hour adventure for characters around 7th level. Could run my my one group through that. That sounds fun. Temple of the Dream Weaver is a 2 to 3 hour adventure for 3rd to 4th level characters. Focuses on combat and requires minimal preparation to run. That sounds great. Fabio's Fantastic Foray into the Far-Fetched, a 6 to 9 hour adventure for 3rd to 4th level adventures. You know what? I gotta admit, 3rd to 4th level is some great play. The Central Market is 30 different stores with huge inventory lists, so it's probably very similar to their vendors book that we're looking at right now. So I'm sure that... oh, here we go. They have stuff on DM's Guild. Cool. Oh, okay, cool. So, what, we got about $3 and a buck? Nice. All right, cool, yeah. So check them out if you're interested in any of this. It's always nice to check that stuff out. So what do we got? We have dungeon. So a lot of the art done on Dungeon Drafts, and they did renderings on Arkenforge. Cool. So what are the ones that I want to look at? I want to see the blacksmith. I want to see the general goods. What's the other one that caught my eye? The Critter Caravan sounds interesting. As somebody who likes tea, I want to check out the Tea and Tranquility. And then the Tattoo Parlor and the Merchants Guild. There's a lot in here. And I also don't know what these full adventures are. I mean, these sound pretty crazy. So, yeah, let's take a look at some of these. We got Heart and Hearth. This small blacksmith in the heart of the Fog Source Watch sees a steady trade from the local villagers. Stone building is well kept with neat stonework and a well-maintained tile roof. The lazy plume of smoke comes from the chimney, giving the smithy a quaint look. Inside is a human man just finishing up with another customer. There's some laughter, and the customer leaves with a smile on their face. Kent turns around to face any new customers, brushing his hands on his leather apron, and greets them with a warm smile. So who do we got? We got Kent Aerosmith. I'm sorry? Kent Aerosmith is not a Fletcher? What kind of crazy upside down world are we living in when a man by the name of Aerosmith isn't a Fletcher? This is confusing me. Kent has worked in his family forge since he was a young lad. His family serviced this village for generations, doing good though not great work. A few years ago, the villagers noticed a sudden increase in the quality of Kent's work. This had brought more trade from locals and those living in nearby villages. Most people put the improvement down to Kent obviously trying harder to do right by his customers, but the truth is a little different. One evening, while working on some shoe horses, Kent noticed movement in the flames of his forge. Leaning over to get a closer look, he got a shock when he saw the fire staring back at him. A small fire elemental had taken up residence in his forge. After the initial shock wore off, Kent and the elemental started talking. Cinderella, as Kent started calling her, was bound to the Fire Lord in the elemental plane of fire and was being worked almost to death. When a small gap opened between the planes, Cinderella took the chance to escape. In return for a safe place to stay and fuel and all the fuel she can eat, Cinderella helps Kent with his smithy. Being able to control the heat exactly, and with centuries of knowledge of metals, Cinderella has been a huge boost to the quality of Kent's work. Fearing for her safety, the two of them keep her existence a secret from the villagers. Plot hook. Fearing that she will never truly be safe and free, Cinderella and Kent have been on the lookout for someone who could venture into the elemental plane of fire and slay her old master. Cinderella can only open a portal to the plane and... Cinderella can open a portal to the plane and will keep it open for several hours while a party ventures through to conduct this quest. In return for slaying the Fire Lord, the party will get to keep whatever they find in the palace, and Kent has agreed to provide his service for free for anything the party needs crafted for the rest of his working life. Damn. Providing he can slot the work in between paid work and they can cover the cost of materials. That's not bad. The portal will stay open inside the palace in a small closet, bypassing most of the Fire Lord security. Once inside, the party will have 3 hours to find the Fire Lord and slay him. You can find the adventure of the Fire Lord's domain in Chapter 3. That's what the adventure is about. Okay, that's cool. So that's what that is. That sounds sick. All right, so what do we have in stock? Dragonhide Shield. It's crafted from the hide of a red dragon. It grants +2 AC and fire resistance. That sounds pretty basic, but very cool. Elven Chain Armor. You gain a +1 to AC while wearing this. You're considered proficient, even if you lack proficiency with medium armor. So it's any medium armor. Okay. Cool. So +1. Well, wait a minute. Okay. No, never mind. This makes sense. Because I was going to say, there's rare armor would be +2, but you can wear this even if you're not proficient. So wizards, warlocks, anybody who lacks armor proficiency, Elven Chain would be a boon to them, because it's generally going to make your armor, like a 13, I think it's like a 13 or a 12 to a 16. Let me pull up the armor table. Yeah, so hide armor is 12, chain shirt is 13, scale mail is 14, breastplate is also 14, and half plate is 15, plus your dexterity modifier to a maximum of 2. So this is giving you that plus, it's in addition to that. So you're looking at anywhere from 15 to a 17 AC, even when you're not proficient with the armor. And in my opinion, for the cost of chain shirt, that putting you up to a 16 AC, that's not bad. I mean, if you figure that mage armor is going to be 13 plus your dexterity, a wizard or somebody's not going to have like a +4 to dexterity. They're generally going to have about a plus like 2 or 3 in most cases. So if you could grab elven armor, if you could grab elven chain, and do elven chain shirt, which is 13 plus your dex at a max of 2 plus 1, you're looking at 16 AC. That's actually not too bad. And it would be 900 gold. You know what? That's not bad. And if you take into consideration that this price is probably going to be, that the material cost for that is going to be half of that. You only need to come up with 450 gold to, if you do that quest for him, you only need 450 gold to get him to make that for you. That's pretty sick. All right, what do we got? We got Flame Forged Sword. This sword has been forged carefully in Cinderella's flame to produce an enchanted blade. You get a +1 to attack, and it deals an extra 1d4 fire damage. That's not bad. I mean, a +1 sword that deals a little extra fire damage. I don't know. I feel like for a rare sword, it needs to be more damage. A rare sword is going to get you, would be bog standard +2. This one is giving you at least 1 extra fire damage. So granted, this would be better than a +2 sword anyway. But the problem is fire damage is the most common damage type and is also the most common damage type to be resisted. So if you take that into consideration, that you always round down on, and this is true in the new player's handbook, it specifically says that you round down anytime that you deal with decimals, or that you deal with half points. So theoretically, if you're fighting things that are resistant, the extra damage potentially is nothing. Now, it is also at maximum giving you +2, and against any creature that's not resistant, this is dealing an extra, you know, at maximum, an extra 5 damage. So, not bad. I don't necessarily know if... I mean, 1,500 gold isn't too bad. It seems a little steep, but okay. Gauntlets of Ogre Power. Oh, okay, that confused me. I was like, all right, Dragonhide Shield, custom magic item, cool. Elven Chain, cool, custom magic item. Flameforged Sword, cool, custom magic item. This is just straight out of official content. That's really funny. I find that hilarious. I got so confused. All right, yeah. You know, I recognize it so easily because every time that I run a one-shot, and I always tell my players, like, hey, you can have a free magic item, you know, you can have a, you know, an uncommon, or, you know, you can have like 2 uncommon or 1 rare magic items. Gauntlets of Ogre Power show up all the time, because that is one of the magic items that, like, if you're playing, for example, a paladin or a cleric, or like a it completely blanked me. Eldritch Knight fighter, something where you want to have like a high spellcasting ability. For example, you know, paladins with a high charisma, clerics with a high wisdom, Eldritch Knights with a high intelligence. This is almost a gimme, because you could put your stats. You could put your higher stats, if you're doing a standard array, you could put your 2 16s in your spellcasting ability modifier, and like dexterity if you're going light armor, or constitution if you're going high armor, and then just grab Gauntlets of Ogre Power to give yourself a +4. Like, there's no sense in not taking them. Is that what? Yes, that is what the Fae stole from Smith in the one-shot. Was his gauntlets, because the Fae creature said, lend me your strength, and the gauntlets disappeared from his hands. So because his strength came from his gauntlets, and that's exactly why Smith picked those, is because you can make a really robust character who has their strength as their dump stat, and then just grab Gauntlets of Ogre Power and you're magically buffed. What else we got? Half plate armor, that's just standard armor. Wait, how much is half plate normally? Okay, half plate is normally 750. Okay. All right, we got a couple more. So we do have standard plate armor here, but we have 2 other custom magic items. Mace. And he never got him back because then died. Yes, that's very true. Mace of Smiting. You gain a +1 to attack and damage with this magic weapon. This bonus increases to 3 when the mace is used to attack a construct. Okay. When you roll a nat 20 on a... Wait, hold on. When you roll a 20 on an attack roll made with this weapon, the target takes an extra 7 bludgeoning damage, or 14 if it's a construct. If a construct has 25 hit points or fewer after taking this damage, it's destroyed. Proficiency with a mace allows... Okay. Here's a problem that I have with the wording of this item. One, I just want to point out, Destructor 92,000. The issue with the extra fire damage, really any type, is the class. Fighter with Action Surge getting 6 attacks. Say they hit 4, 2d4 extra on each is adding up to approximately 12. which is like a whole extra attack depending on the level. So if you're planning on giving it to your paladin for burst damage, 2d4 is fun, but if it's a fighter, 1d4 is fine. No, that's true. You know what? I give you that. I 100% give you that. I just don't know. I just don't know if I would have gone D4. I might have gone D6. That's where I'm coming in at it from. I might have just raised the threshold if I was charging 1,500 gold for something that's giving you, for one, it's only giving you a +1 bonus to the attack rolls. Oh, wait, I just realized that. I thought this was a +1 bonus to attack and damage. Sorry, I completely skipped that. So this is a +1 weapon, but the damage is a potentially guaranteed 1, but with a higher cap that is fire. I mean, it's still good for what it is. I'm sure any player would be happy to have it. Also, welcome to the stream, Destructor. I appreciate your perspective on this. I mean, that's very true. I mean, once a fighter's getting high enough up there, yeah, definitely, multiple attacks is always going to be a factor. Especially rare items. I mean, generally speaking, players are going to be anywhere from level, I would say, 6 to 10. Looking at getting their rare items on. Normally I try to withhold some rare items till players are at least level 5. Personally, I'd make the rarity like, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. Do some extra guaranteed damage. I would even argue you could make this, for example, the uncommon variety, change this from rare to like, varied variety, make it a straight up +1 weapon. So you're getting the bonus to hit and the bonus to attack rolls. But then in addition to that, it does 1d4 fire damage. Then make the rare one 1d6 and the very rare one a d8. I mean, at that point, you could have it appear in your campaign at different levels and possibly even have it something that could level up with your player over time, where, after a certain point, it's kind of like playing with proficiencies almost, where at first, when you have the +2, when you have the 2 proficiency, it's whatever, it's just the uncommon version. At that 3, it's buffed. At 4, it's buffed. Can even have it, like I said, you can even have it tied to proficiency. So, I mean, definitely always going to be various options for magic items. And you know what? That's the coolest thing about D&D. Everyone's going to have their own opinions and everyone's going to have their own ideas. And when it's your table and you're sitting there and, you think something's a little underpowered, just throw more dice at it. Let's give your players an extra die to roll. Everyone likes rolling dice. But this Mace of Smiting, the only thing that I have to say, the 2 things that I want to say about it, attack bonus, guaranteed damage, you can always homebrew it, it's just an attack bonus, and yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. Which that's the way that this one does it. It's just the to hit. So, because you're getting that extra, add-on for damage. With this Mace of Smiting, there's 2 things that I have an issue with it. With it. One, Mace of Smiting, to me, sounds like it should be dealing radiant damage. This sounds like this should be a weapon that a paladin is wielding, and like when you use your Divine Smite, you get extra damage. Or if you are, or that you're able to, you're able to like once a day cast one of the smites, like Burning Smite or, the new Radiant Smite or something like that, or Branding Smite. it's this should have a different name of like the Mace of Artificial Bane or something like that. Like I don't know what it would be, but it needs to be a name that's like, this is a weapon designed to destroy constructs. Like I don't know what the name would be, but the Mace of Smiting, I don't get the flavor there. The other thing, this right here, when you roll a 20 on an attack roll, Siege Mace would be a considerably better name. And yes, have it deal force damage. That I totally agree with you. This is the other thing. When you roll a 20 on an attack roll. Now here's the problem. If I have a plus 11 to hit and I roll a 9, guess what? I rolled a 20 on an attack roll. Okay? That my modified roll is a 20. This needs to be when you roll a natural 20. There just needs to be the word natural right here. Because otherwise, you could have a player who's sitting there going, well, the wording of this says when you roll a 20. I have a plus 7 to hit and I rolled a 13. So I rolled a 20. And you gotta be like, well, it means a nat 20. It's like, well, that's rules as written, baby. I mean, I get it, spirit of the law kind of thing, rules as intended. And I would tell the player, like, hey, this only works on, nat 20s. But at the same time, again, you can have players where it's like, well, hey, maybe they get 2 opportunities. Actually, second thought, depending on how the 2024 DMG and future books go, force damage may still be OP against everything. So maybe constructs and structures are just vulnerable to damage from the mace. That could work. Yeah, that could totally work. I mean, it's giving a +3 to attack and damage against it, so you're already giving it a little bit of bonus, and also whenever you roll that nat 20, I mean, I definitely think this is a powerful thing. If they're at 25 hit points or fewer. Yeah, like I said, my 2 biggest issues with this, the name just needs to be different, and this needs to say natural. There needs to be the word natural in between these 2. But I agree. I think force damage would be fun. Force damage is always going to be OP, but it's, in a way, force damage is and also is not OP. Force damage has always been there. It has always been one of those things that is has the least amount of resistances against it. Like a helmed horror, for example, is like one of the only things resistant to force damage. In fact, if we look up the bestiary, come on, don't do this. God. 5e.tools is just so hard to work with anymore. What a pain. Reminds me of true damage. Yeah. Yep, a similar thing. All right, here we go. All right, so if we look up resistant to force and immune to force. Oh, let's look up resistant. Okay. So resistant to force, we have amethyst dragons, which makes total sense. They deal psychic damage, like that's their whole thing. So sure, their resistance to force and psychic. Beyond that, we have the archaic, which, okay, massively high CR creature, has literal force abilities and the ability to manipulate gravity. We have the Gargantua. I mean, I don't necessarily think there's anything particular about him that would tie it to that, but it is what it is. Then we have the Star Spawns, you know, just aberrations in general. And then we have some stuff from, whatchamacallit, Strixhaven. As for immunities, yeah. Helmed Horror, again, Amethyst Great Worm. Hey, what's up, Mizroy? Thanks for coming by and hanging out. What the fuck? That's sick art. Mizraid. Again, Helmed Horrors, just different kind. Hallister Horror, similar. Helmed Horror again. Helmed Horror again. Scaladar. I never understood why this thing has resistance. And a Snake Horror. So, like, all these things, like the Helmed Horrors, it's always been their thing. But, like, it just is kind of what it is. I mean, resistance and immunity to force is so limited out there, and that's why when they were making the 2024 Player's Handbook, instead of adding the phrasing of like your attacks are considered magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance to magical damage, it's just so much easier to say your attacks deal force damage. That's it. It's because there are so few things that resist or are immune to force damage, it is so much easier to just say your attacks deal force damage. Because now you can just say, oh, they deal force damage, or you don't have to worry. It's like, oh, well, my attacks are magical, so they overcome that. Just played through some They Bleed Pixels. I think there's something wrong with my copy. It felt bad to play. What felt bad about it? I remember that game. I really enjoyed that game. I loved the whole Cthulhu feel to it, the Lovecraftian elements. It was also just a really fun platformer. Curious to know what felt wrong. What do we have next? Everything felt very sped up and unresponsive. Oh, I'm sorry, man. That sucks. Huh. That's weird. I would try uninstalling it and reinstalling it. Then you have to give yourself a migraine trying to figure out the in-game difference between force and thunder damage. Nope. I actually don't think you do. See, at least in my opinion, force damage is magical, okay? I don't associate force with something like a force field. Oh, that's a terrible term, but like, I don't associate it with something like percussion, which is what I really consider more for thunder. I think of the force as like just innate magic, almost kind of like with the Jedi. You know, the Jedi have the ability to manipulate the force, which is like, you know, I know midichlorians and bullshit, but it's just like magical energy. Versus thunder damage, which is percussive. And that's always the way that I kind of adjust how I think about thunder damage, because sure, you have things like, you know, booming blade, or you have things like shatter that do thunder damage, but it's also what like explosions, explosions. It's what explosives do. It's explosion damage is often thunder or mixed with fire in a lot of cases. But like, it deals thunder damage to an area, which is also why thunder damage deafens people, because it's bangs, it's percussion, it's sound waves. So magic missiles are just tiny walls of, exactly, literally how they are described. I want to say that's almost exactly how they are described. Glowing darts of magical force. That's literally what you are throwing at people, is darts of magical force, which is why they deal force damage. So, and that's kind of exactly where I've taken that mindset of. Now, if it was something like you were doing blasts of air at somebody, that would make more sense for me. Like if you could almost turn gust into a damaging spell of kind of like being an airbender and like shooting blasts of air at people, 100% would be thunder damage in my opinion, because like you're hitting them with this percussive force versus force damage, which is more like magic, just innate magic, which is also why Eldritch Blast is just crackling energy and it deals force damage. It is just innate magic. What is an Eldritch Storm? Miso washed rum? What the oh, it's a drink. Okay. It's like, what the fuck? Abjuration Wizard BBEG conjuring 2-dimensional walls of force and sliding the... How thick is a wall of force? A flat surface. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, no, here it is. The wall is 1/4 inch thick. Okay. Whew. That would be... see, I hate, like, anything of, like people being, you know, dissected in any capacity. There's a movie called Ghost Ship where it happens in like the first couple minutes of it. And it's a horrific scene that I don't want to go too much into the discussion of it. Go watch it at your own risk. But one of the opening scenes is a bunch of people dancing on the deck of a ship, and there's a very high tension cable that runs from like one corner to the other, and there's like a malfunction and the cable snaps, or like the rigging that holds it snaps, and the cable very quickly moves from one side of the deck to the other, and it threw everyone, and it's just a bunch of people standing there, and suddenly like they fall in half. So like it always makes me sick to see it. My friends when we used to play D&D in person a lot, my friends would randomly turn it on one of my TVs, and they would have it pause, like as I go to the bathroom, I go to get food, and when I come back in, they would immediately turn it back on. I would start retching. You love my theoretical idea of what happens if you cast Reduce on someone, put them in a tiny cage. Yep. I've heard of that one. Somebody made the same comment about who was it? Hermione Granger. So if you're a fan of the Harry Potter series, obviously you know Hermione Granger. In the movie, she never did this, but I only just recently found out that in the book, there's another character in the series called Rita Skeeter, who is a journalist for one of the newspapers. I forget, the Daily Prophet, I think, is the main one in it. But she really comes into play, as far as I know, around the Triwizard Tournament. But Hermione finds out that she's an animagus, somebody that can turn themselves into an animal. and she can turn herself into a beetle. Well, in the book, apparently Hermione finds this out and captures Rita Skeeter in a jar and enchants the jar to be unbreakable so that she can't turn back into her human form without just in the jar. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is a war crime. And that's exactly a very similar thing of, I mean, you can cast Reduce, but you could also just cast Polymorph and turn them into a snail and do the exact same thing. You know, you could not forge. You could cast it's not, is it Force Cage? Yeah. Oh, it's all one word. That's why. So, you know, you could cast Force Cage because it says a prison in the shape of a cage can be up to 20 feet on a side. It doesn't have to be. It can be that big, but it doesn't have to be. Polymorph Snail was in secret level. I loved that. Go watch, if you haven't watched the Amazon Prime series Secret Levels, there's a D&D episode in it. I would get my entire channel here kicked off the internet if I tried playing it. I'd love to. I'd love to watch it with the community. We could actually do that in the Discord one night. That would be fun. Do a couple episodes in there. Maybe I'll consider that for another day when I have time. But yeah, 100%. You could cast Polymorph, and then you could cast Force Cage, put them in there, and just poof. I mean, how long does Enlarge Reduce last? Up to 1 minute. Holy shit! Destructor. That would be interrogating somebody. You go up, you cast Reduce on them. They become small. You immediately cast Force Cage around them, and you flip over a Sandile timer, and you're like, you have 1 minute to tell us everything we want to know, or you will die. And you will die in a way you have never conceived. That would be absolutely awful. Like, all right, what do you want to know? I'll tell you everything. Or it's another wizard. They're trying to like, they're trying to counter or dispel your Force Cage. Oh no, never mind. It can't be dispelled by dispel magic. Never mind. They'd have to try and counter it. Oh my god, that would be hilarious. All right. So back to the book. So for those of you that may have joined after we started this, we're checking out the book Vendors of the Veil, which is by Every Trick Books. So if you're interested, go to their website, everytrickbooks.com, and check them out. We're just reviewing a couple things from it because I only just recently got this book. Stormhammer. This mace crackles with the sound of an oncoming storm. There are blue lightning runes etched through the steel on the hammer. You gain a +1 to attack rolls made with this weapon. On a hit, it deals an extra 1d. Okay, so it's basically the same thing as the Flame Forged sword, but it's a hammer that deals lightning damage. Why is the cost so different? I mean, this is a short sword, which means it's dealing 1d6, and a mace, sorry, is also dealing 1d6. Unless I am vastly mistaken, which I don't think I am. No. A short sword is only dealing 1d6, and so is a mace. And on top of that, I mean, Vex is great and all. It gives you advantage on your next turn, and sure, it's light and finesse, so you can dual wield. But why is this so much cheaper than that? They're the same rarity. They literally have the same bonuses. And I'd rather have lightning damage versus fire damage, considering there's a lot of things that resist fire damage. Not only is it cheaper, but it deals in my opinion, a better damage. I don't know. That's weird. I do like this whole story, though. I'd like to think the exact length of spells is a thing Mystra or other forces put to limit mages, but maybe if you try really hard, you could just hold out a little longer, make that transition back to normal. Oh my god. Oh my god. If you have to roll. So if you are concentrating on a spell that has a time of 1 minute, at the end of that minute, you can roll a concentration saving throw of a DC equal to 10 plus, or let's say 12 plus the spell's level. And if you pass, you are able to slow the end of the spell out for 1 round. So instead of it immediately ending, it lasts for 6 seconds. So it's like, you just look at them as they're in this force cage, just 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And they're just like starting to get bigger and bigger. It's awful. It's so awful. And I absolutely love it. And it has to show up now on one of my campaigns. It has to happen to an NPC that the players can see it happen to. So when they go to fight that big bad, they know this is a thing they have to contend with. All right, so you know what? Not bad. I really like this. I really like this description of Kent Aerosmith. I mean, these are some decent items. They're simple, mind you, but they're decent. Again, Mace of Smiting needs a different name. I like the Siege Mace. That's cool. Stormhammer and the Flameforged Sword, there's too big of a price discrepancy. You could get 2 Stormhammers for essentially the price of one of these swords, and this deals a better damage type and has the same shit. I don't know. All right, what was the other ones? Let's look at another vendor. Imagine we're a group of adventurers traveling around the town. We stop off at the blacksmith first, and then we gotta head over to the general store. Nestled in the main street of Fogsore's Watch, the general goods store is the main supplier for day-to-day items for the village. There's usually at least 2 or 3 customers in the store at any time. The storefront has large windows displaying the deals of the week with plenty of items on sale. Inside are aisles. That's spelled wrong. Aisles like this is in the water. Aisles that you are referring to right now starts with an A. Inside there are aisles of shelves with a counter next to the front door. The front counter currently has a balding man leaning on it while reading a book. He doesn't look up at the customers as they enter, but his body language gives the impression he's aware of everyone in the store. Cool. His name is Turn Tabernacle. Archmages channeling all their power to hold a polymorph. Oh my god. Just to go, I have no mouth and I must scream. Oh. You know what's funny that you mentioned that? It would be really fun to kind of portray that alongside this custom monstrosity that I made some time ago. the flesh graft horror that has the ability to seal people's mouths and like nostrils to make them suffocate, or seal their eyes to blind them, or seal their ears to deafen them, or to seal their limbs to their body to reduce their speed to 0. Yeah. That would be awful to tie in with that. His head's way too big. That's a disguised mind flayer. Yeah, this is a horrible sight to behold. Ugh. Oh, you're talking about him. You're talking about him. That's funny. He's just a mind flayer in disguise. I'm curious to know about him. Turn has been running the store efficiently for many years. His motivation to spend more time reading his books. It is rare to find Turn without a book, either in hand or nearby. That said, he's always happy to put it down for a moment to serve a customer. When Turn realizes the party is a traveling sort, he decides to ask them if they'll consider doing a job for him. Turn is after a particular book that no traveling trader has been able to locate for him. The book is simply called BBB by the author K.S. Dapper. Turn cannot tell the party anything else about the book, only that he wants it. He asks the party to look for it while out on their travels, and if they deliver a copy, he'll pay them 500 gold. The book should not be easy to find, and it should take the party either a long time to come by it, or if they dedicate their entire focus to it, it should come after a lot of effort. What the party will find is that in some places they will get odd looks for asking about it. Some vendors may even ask the party to leave their store if they ask about it. The truth, oh my god. The truth is that BBB stands for Betty's Busting Bosom and is one of the most smutty books ever written. This will bring some interesting challenges and social interactions. He's like Kakashi and Jiraiya. He just wants to read some smut in front of everyone else. I'm all about that. Holy God. That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Oh, I would, that is so fucking amazing. I love it. All right, what do we got? Okay, we just have, this is just the adventuring list. That's all this is. That's fine. I figured that was going to be the much. I just wanted to know about the shop owner. All right, what else are we going to look at? Oh yeah, we have the pet store. The Critter Caravan. The smell of animal feed, fresh hay, and manure hits the nose before the caravan even comes around the corner. The Critter Caravan is a traveling menagerie of animals and companions of all shapes and sizes. The cart is stacked high with small animal boxes that are half box, half cage. These pet hotels are the signature item that make the Critter Caravan so famous. Apart from the pet hotels, the wagon has a small living space and a cargo area that stores feed and supplies. The vendor named Lyra Greenpaw. Lyra has always had an affinity for animals and pets, a passion which she brought with her to the Mages Academy. She was frequently in trouble for trying to hide a pet in her footlocker under the mage's hat. After a few years of study, she decided the academy wasn't for her and left to find her own way in the world. An average-sized gnome with black and white streaked hair and dirty coveralls, she would be right at home at any stable, but she wanted more adventure in her life. She frequently met with adventurers at taverns who always seemed to have sad tales of losing animal companions on their travels due to mishaps with gnolls, swimming underwater for too long, or being exposed to other elements. Lyra was determined to devise a solution for this problem, and using her knowledge of enchantment magic, she came up with pet hotels. Small boxes that have a door that can be closed with the animal inside. Inside the box is a pocket dimension with 8 hours of air, food, and water, and plenty of space to run around. These boxes come in different sizes, but can accommodate most small animal companions. This allows adventurers to keep their companions safe on their travels. The only limitation of the box is they have to be attuned to the creature and will only allow that creature to enter and exit the box. The attunement takes 1 hour, and the owner has to go through a small ritual with the creature that will live in the box. That sounds really cool. Plot hook. Lyra has heard rumors that a local black market trade has started selling captured animals. She fears these animals are being kept as prizes to be shown off and aren't being properly taken care of. She asks the party to pose as buyers and see if they can get more information. If they're able to stop the trade, she'll ask them to do that, but only if it doesn't put them at any risk. If they can get the information, Lyra will pass it on to the authorities and hope they do their job. Party can spend time carousing local inns and taverns, markets, and traveling vendors to get information that leads them to a small warehouse on the outskirts of town where a live animal auction is taking place. From there, they'll have the option of either attending and gathering further information or trying to take down the criminals that are running it. If they do start a combat, the auctioneers will try to escape with the animals and use thugs to slow down the party, thinking they're a rival gang trying to take over the operation. The party must work quickly to stop the criminals from escaping with the animals. The map, the Dark Market, and Appendix C. Okay, it has the... Sweet. Cool. So, what animals do we have? We got a couple of them. Celestial Canine. This large black dog has a serene smile and gentle manner. A longer look at their fur reveals star-like light gently moving through the midnight black fur. While traveling with this pet, you'll have advantage on checks regarding navigating at night. That's really cool. Elemental Ferret. A ferret with fur that changes color based on its elemental affinity. An air elemental has bright white fur that is fluffier than normal. Once a day, air ferrets can cast Slow Fall as a reaction. An earth ferret has deep brown fur that's always muddy. Twice a day, it can cast Mold Earth at its owner's command. A fire ferret has orange fur with botched white tips that seem to shimmer in the light. The fire ferret can brighten its fur to let off light for 30 feet, dim light for an additional 30. Well, that's better than a torch. The water ferret has brilliant blue fur that is always damp. Once per day, it can shake its coat to create an area of water as per the create or destroy water spell. That's kind of cool. He should also sell a mysterious clear oil that doesn't burn very well, but it's great for putting on your... Jesus Christ. Yeah, he sells a very specific oil of slipperiness, that has a picture of P. Diddy on it. A fire lizard, a small lizard with scales that shimmer like flames. The lizard produces enough heat to keep a traveling party warm as if they were sitting around a campfire. That's cool as shit. I actually really like that one a lot. I like all these, actually. These are pretty cool. Guardian Tortoise, a tortoise with a sturdy shell imbued with protective runes. The shell is almost destructible. The shell is almost indestructible, but the tortoise inside is not. What the fuck? That's fine and all, but Jesus Christ, why does that sound so awful? Moonlit Owl, or Moonlight Owl. An owl with feathers that glow softly under moonlight twice per day. The Moonlight Owl can shed a bright moonlight in a 15-foot radius, dim light for an additional 15. Interesting. Okay. That'd be cool to fuck with people. Like, sending your owl to scout somewhere, like, out in the wilderness, and all of a sudden it's like, you want to, like, sneak up on people, or you want to get the drop on them. It's like, you just have the owl just create moonlight. I'm going to read Pet Hotel last. Shadow Cat. A sleek black cat is at home in the shadows. These cats are favored by thieves that live in large cities. Because of this, people have started calling the Thieves Guild cat burglars. Once per day, a shadow cat can cast Path Without Trace without requiring components. That's kind of cool. That's a fun little guy. Pet Hotel. Small boxes come in different sizes to suit different animals. A smaller tiny creature can undergo a ritual to attune to a pet hotel, which allow them to enter the box, taking them to a small pocket dimension. Has enough air for 8 hours. Has food and water the creature can use. Nothing else can enter the pocket dimension, which will keep the creature safe regardless of what happens outside. If the pet hotel is destroyed, its contents are spilled into the material plane in the nearest empty space. That's good to know. That was a concern I had. How was it going to word that? Nah, man, strap him to your arm as a shield and have a once per day reaction where Turtle sticks out its head with an adorable big anime eyes. Gives the attacker disadvantage. Oh, that's hilarious. These creatures don't have HP because they're magic. I don't necessarily know if I would say that. I would say that I would probably lean more towards the fact that, like, you could probably just use a random dog stat block or, like, the cat stat block. I don't know if there's a tortoise. There's just not really a tortoise one. There's a dragon tortoise. Wait, is there a turtle stat block? Dragon turtle. Yeah, I don't necessarily, I mean, I trust me. If your DM is asking for your adorable pets, you should leave anyway. That's very true. That is so true. Funny enough, I'm actually Stacy's DM, so yeah. No, these things are always potential targets. Always. I don't know. I would there's owl stat blocks, there's cat stat blocks. Ferret, I'm sure you could find something. Lizard's not hard. That's basically just a salamander. Just make it CR 1/4 or whatnot. Tortoise, it is, you know, again, you could just kind of use like generic lizard. And I mean, as far as just randomly assigning something, you know, a base AC and stuff, you know, give them a 14 AC, give them like, you know, 1d8 hit points. That's really all you need. These aren't meant to be things that are used in combat. So in general, you're not necessarily going to be wanting them in combat. You're going to, like, the Celestial Canine is a cool companion to have. It's like it says here, you get advantage for traveling at night with it. So like, this is a companion that I would say a perfect example, a Star Druid. This would be such a cool companion for a Star Druid or a Cleric of Saloon, or like my buddy James who plays an Eclipse Paladin. This would be a really cool companion for them because they could have them traveling at night, and that would give them, you know, an advantage. Now you have risks about traveling at night, but hey, if that's what you're into, cool. The elemental ferret would be so cool for a Ganassi to have as like a pet, like a fire Ganassi having a fire ferret. That's sick, you know, or an elemental based wizard who is like an evoker who really doesn't specialize in any one particular, you know, magic type, or something that I know Stacy's very intimately familiar with, Eladrin. You could have Eladrin and have the elemental ferret tying into the season that you are in. Summer for fire, you know, fall for earth, air for spring, and water for winter. So, and you could even just slightly adjust these abilities if you felt so, you know, needful for, but I think these are actually pretty decent for what it's worth. So yeah, I mean, Fire Lizard, this would be great for an Icewind Dale campaign. Like, that would be such a cool thing to have in an Icewind Dale campaign. This is literally just a Charmander. That's all that is. This is just a Charmander. Yeah, Yeah, I think these are really cool. I like these. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing about this. They have decent prices, and there's not 1,000 of them. I got to admit, I really like the fact that this only has like a handful of things for the players to pick through, and not as much as it is a fantastic book, and I have gotten many good options out of it. When you have a book like Stibble's Codex that has hundreds of pages of different monsters, and there's so much variety, it makes it nearly impossible to be able to introduce things in a reasonable manner, or to have your players decide on shit. It's like, oh, do I go with an elemental? Do I go with an aberration? Do I go with a construct? I don't know. In here, it's like, hey, you got 6 options. Pick one. All right, we're going to check out the tea store, and then I want to see the Merchants Guild, and then I'm probably going to jump out of this book and talk about some homebrew that I made recently over at a different Discord. By the way, if you want to join my Discord, you can go to that link above me, kelscorner.com. You can join my Discord, where I will admit I have been so poorly involved in there. Life has just been very busy with a baby and everything, and life and work. But I do chat in there occasionally. I hang out, and that's also where I post when I'm doing my streams, and when other people in the community are doing their streams. So if you want to come by and hang out, you can go to kelscorner.com, and there's always some fun folks around there that you can chat with. All right, let's see the store. Oh my God, it's a badger person. Fuck yeah. This is great because I'm a Hufflepuff. All right. Tea and Tranquility. This cozy little wagon parked on the side of the road has a small sign above the window with a few tea leaves and the name Tea and Tranquility. The wagon is made from dark wood and has a small iron chimney on one corner with a small lazy stream of smoke coming from it. The wagon's aroma is a mix of herbs and dried leaves and is comforting on the nose like a warm blanket on a cold winter's night. The vendor name, Thistle Brewpaw. There we go. That's the kind of name I was hoping for. Thistle's people are new to these lands, and for most people he meets, he is the first badger folk they have ever seen. His appearance gets some strange looks, but people are quickly put at ease by his gentle nature and welcoming attitude. Thistle enjoys traveling around and finding new tea blends to sell from his wagon, and he's always more than happy to educate someone new in the proper ways to brew a pot of tea. I love this look. God. And you know what? He's even got the gold and like with the black fur. It's the whole Hufflepuff look. Oh, love it. When Thistle arrived in town, he found the local children had been suffering from a fever that none of the local healers had been successfully able to treat. He has seen a similar sickness in a faraway land and knows a brew that will aid in their plight. He asks the party to head into the nearby forest and collect a blue flower with red thorns. If collected, it can be mixed into a blend of herbs he has on hand to produce a tea that will cool the fever in the children. There's no pay offered, and he implores the characters to do it for the children's sake. If they agree, they must head into the forest and search for the flower, which can be achieved in a number of ways. A DC 12 survival check to track it down, a DC 12 nature check to determine where it's most likely to grow, a DC 12 perception check to notice the flower if they're searching through the forest, or any other skill check can be used if the player can justify. Yeah, so it's a DC 12 skill check. Blue flower with red thorns is a Shrek reference? What's the reference? I Googled it and it is. Wait, what is this? Hold on. I remember the scene now. Ah, yeah, okay. Now I remember. Jeez. That's hilarious. Man, that's good. You know what? I appreciate that. I definitely didn't catch the reference in the first part, but you know what? I appreciate that. That's hilarious. If they succeed, Thistle's able to brew the tea, and it does help the children recover. The party standing in the town goes up significantly. This can aid them in other quests or goals. Huh, I like this one. I'm probably going to throw this one into my new Veil campaign. That seems like, because it's going into a forest, I already have plans for that party going into a forest. So this sounds right up my alley. All right, what do we got as far as stock is concerned? Antitoxin tea provides advantage on saves against poison and grants resistance to poison damage for an hour. 150 gold per serving. Holy shit. Bard's Berry Tea, a fruity tea that leaves the drinker feeling happy. After drinking this tea, the drinker must talk in poems for 1 hour. Dragon's Breath Chai tea has some spice to it. It grants the drinker fire resistance for 2 hours. Enchanted Earl Grey, it gets advantage on investigation checks. Energizing Elven Blend. Any saving throws to avoid exhaustion can be made with advantage for 4 hours. Feywild Floral Tea. For 4 hours after drinking this tea, the drinker leaves the aroma of flower blossoms wherever they go. Gold Ginger Brew. You have resistance to poison for 1 hour. Moonlit Mint. Refreshing tea that encourages good night's rest and aids in preventing nightmares. That's cool. Shadow Blend Tea. Grants the effects of Pass Without Trace. Oh, geez. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought this was giving an additional plus 10. Okay, so it gives you Pass Without Trace for an hour. That's cool. Now, here's my question. This says, drinking this tea grants the effects of Pass Without Trace for 1 hour. But is that only for you? Because Pass Without Trace normally affects people within a certain range of you. The intelligence buff for Earl Grey seems like a Star Trek reference. I don't know anything about Star Trek. Never watched a single episode. Could not tell you. Tea of Animal Friendship. This allows you to cast Animal Friendship once within the next 24 hours. And Warrior's Green Tea. After drinking this, you gain a +1 to athletics for an hour. Cool. These are very simple, and I like that. Like, I'm glad that these are, nothing too crazy. And I really like this quest. I think this is cool. It's simple, but it's fun, and it's something that isn't, like it says here, there's no pay offered. Just doing this for the good of the people. And that's one thing that I like. All right. Moving on, I want to check out Traveling Curiosities. Ooh. Oh shit. Oh shit. Curiosities are always my favorite. Shit, I gotta look at these items. I'm not gonna look at the person, but I like curiosities. Chime of Opening, a small chime that can be struck to open locks nearby. When struck, it lets out a ringing sound that can be heard 100 feet away. You can use this chime to cast knock once per day. Oh, God. Cursed Doll, small child's doll with button eyes. Starts to laugh at really inconvenient times, such as when a character's trying to sneak around. Oh, God. Jar full of magical fireflies that never need food or water. Produces dim light out to 30 feet. That's just cool. This seashell can record up to 10 minutes of sound. When held to the ear, it plays the recorded sound back, allowing the user to eavesdrop or replay conversations. That's really cool. This mask can change appearance to mimic any face the wearer has seen, granting them advantage on deception checks to impersonate that person. Holy shit. Bards, bards would be all about that. Visibility cloak patch. The small scrap of fabric came from a cloak of invisibility. While holding it, the player can cast invisibility once. Once it's been used, the fabric loses this enchantment, turns into a normal piece of cloth. You know what? A one-time use of invisibility is still pretty powerful. Jester's cap. This cap grants the wearer advantage on performance checks involving comedy and entertainment. Once per day, it can cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter. The fact that you have it say it can cast argues that it is a sentient thing that does it on its own. It should be that the wearer can cast it. I'm being so facetious, but still. Mystic Compass. Oh my god. This compass will point to the nearest source of magic, including items other than itself. If the user is wearing or carrying any magic, it'll point to this. That's so fucking cool. I really like that. I really like that. That is such a cool way to use like a simple detect magic. Phoenix Feather Quill. This quill has a fire red ink that writes and never runs out of ink. That's pretty sick. Tinkerer's Arcane Eye. This small mechanical eye can be activated to cast Arcane Eye once per day, allowing the user to see through the eye as it moves. Okay. Here is what I wanted. The Merchants Guild. The Four Mountains Trade Alliance. The hat is the jester, but he insulted the king so hard that the crown mage turned him into a hat. That's hilarious. Oh my god, that's such a cool idea. Oh my god, I love that idea. I would love to play it out like that. All right, the Four Mountains Trade Alliance is the merchants guild in the area. You can find representatives at most settlements, while the larger towns and cities have a guild hall where members can conduct meetings or rest in privacy. The vendor name Davbar Puddlefern. Davbar is the currently elected representative of the Trade Alliance, and he'll handle any disputes between members. He's a male gnome and wears very fine clothes and enjoys the bureaucracy of the job. He finds joys in filling out forms, balancing ledgers, and developing new policies and procedures. Contract negotiations are his favorite, and he always looks forward to brokering a new trade deal between parties. Davbar has been reviewing paperwork and found that several traders in the area are late on their guild fees. He asked the party, since they're on the road, to keep an eye out for any traders on his list. You can use any vendor in this book. Cool. If they come across a trader, they're to collect the yearly guild membership of 100 gold and return it to Davbar. If they can collect at least 4 traders worth of fees, they will be granted access to the guild quartermaster, who sells items on the included stock list. All right, let's take a look at this. Arcane Consolation. The Alliance offers expert advice on the identification and appraisal of magic items, helping merchants understand the value and potential of their goods. Each item is appraised as if using Identify, and also lists the value of the item. So, a 50 gold for casting, a 50 gold casting of Identify. Collapsible cart. This small cart can be folded up into a backpack-sized package with straps that allow someone to carry the cart over rivers or through terrain that can't be crossed by wheeled vehicles. Okay, so it's just a cart you can throw on your back, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. Seems very simple, but I like that. Oh no, it's a tiny Patrick Bateman. Yeah, it kind of is. Introductions. The guild hall can facilitate introductions with important people in each location for a fee. These introductions can vary from meeting at the guild hall to invitations to upcoming social events such as balls. Price will vary depending on the social business standing of the target. Market intelligence. The Alliance gathers and distributes information on market trends, helping merchants stay ahead of the competition and make informed business decisions. This information comes in the form of daily newsletter that can be collected from any guild hall. The guild hires spellcasters to send messages between branches to ensure the trade ledgers are kept up to date. Guild members can pay for a message to be sent to a different guild hall to ensure stock prices are updated, suppliers are notified for new orders, or main offices are checked in with. Trade Alliance bonds. These bonds can be traded for currency at any Trade Alliance location. It helps with moving along large sums of gold securely, as the bonds are certified with the owner's name, so only they can redeem them. That's a cool way to you know what? Oh my god, that's such a smart way of doing money banking in D&D. That would be such a fun way. If you're a stickler for like carrying gold and like gold weight and stuff like that, something like that is a really easy way to manage that. Like, hey, here's a bank. You can go there, give them your gold. They're going to give you a bond worth that amount. And when you go to another location, you can withdraw money up to that amount, and they'll write you a new bond for the remaining amount. I mean, it's basically like a credit union in a way, but I that's just an easy way to handle stuff. I've done it in the past where I've done banks of holding, where essentially there's a centralized bank and you can be given a chest or a bag that is linked to like the bank has like a bunch of essentially like bags of holding that are linked to other bags of holding. So whatever you put in one appears in the other. So this way you can have like this extra space in there. And then you can get other bags that attach to that. So like it allows you to basically have a giant coffer that you can carry around, but it's only like one bag. What if the messaging service is actually that all the guild masters are warlocks of the same Eldritch Mammon type entity, and they can all tell? Yeah, that would be sick. That would be really cool. That's a fun way to do it. Trade meditation. The Alliance provides neutral... mediation. I said meditation. It's trade mediation. Okay. So I think this is really cool. I mean, there's not a lot of merchant guild stuff that I've ever introduced to my campaign. This is kind of a cool way to do it. Sick. And here we got that Fire Lord's domain. Simple little adventure. The sunken temple. Excuse me. And welcome to the Brachiosaurus bed and breakfast. And we got some NPC stat blocks for, I assume, stuff that shows. Oh, hey, look at that. There's the giant owl stat block. For the use of that fire, or that moonlight owl. There's a woodhound. It's just a dog. It's just a dog. Okay. Oh, this is just a complete list of all the magic items. Interesting. The everlasting towel, a towel that dries perfectly and never gets wet, never leave home without it. I fucking love it. A goddamn towel-y reference. Oh my god. Don't forget to bring a towel. Just remember, take your towel, never leave home without it. That's amazing. Oh my god. Ooh, an Everbright lantern, a durable lantern that never runs out of fuel. Good fox woodhound. A simple herbalism kit. Okay, weird that that's in there. Lightweight quiver. This quiver halves the weight of any... That is unnecessary in any campaign I've ever ran. I don't even track players' arrows if they're mundane. the headband of intellect, I would say it's just you're just adding in things that already exist in like the DMG, the player's handbook, I guess. Oh, dude, Griffin Saddlebag. I have like all of his books. Yeah, no, 100%. I follow Griffin. Yep. Where the hell did my page go? What the actual hell is going on? There we go. Yep. Book 1, book 2, and yep, first book, second book, and Kibble's Guide to Crafting. Yep. I have met Griffin in person. He is a great guy. He's an amazing home brewer. I follow all of his shit online, and regularly I constantly am sending his stuff from Reddit to a bunch of people like every couple days. In fact, there was one recently that was really cool. Thinking of buying book 2 PDF just to read through it. Well, hey, I'm just saying, if you join the Discord, I have an archive in there of a lot of books, and I think that one might be in there. Also, if you want the second one, if you want access to the second one, I also have a D&D Beyond campaign that I let people join as a simple way of giving them access to the books on D&D Beyond. Just saying. I'm here to aid and help in any way that I can. What was the... Here it is. This one. This is such a cool magic item. So you can use this as a replacement for an eye. While it's in your eye, you have two options. You have a laser beam that shoots a 120-foot line at a creature that they make a dexterity saving throw. If they fail, they take they take 10d6 fire damage on a failed save, half as much on success. And for every d6 every 6 that you roll, it explodes, dealing 6 fire damage to creatures within 5 feet up to a maximum of 30 feet. This is literally just Kano's Eye from Mortal Kombat. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. All right. What else did he have? Oh yeah, the Mighty Falconer's Mitt. So this one lets you create a spectral falcon that 3 times a day that can fly out and either become like the scrying sensor spell, or you can have it like shoot through enemies, dealing 44 force damage to creatures. Again, I absolutely love Griffin. I have bought every book that he has done so far. I actually, one of my players was so kind enough to buy me the book that he put on D&D Beyond. The Mantle of Shrunken Stature allows gnomes and gnomes and halflings, I think, or gnomes or elves, to cast Reduce on themselves. And I always love that he has a little bit of flavor with it, where it's like, this is stereotyping, this is demeaning, this is the only way we're getting into the vault. Now put it on. Absolutely love it. Oh man. Right. So yeah, I think it's a really cool book. Like I said, if you're interested in this, Vendors of the Veil, definitely check out everytrickbooks.com to I mean, I'm sure eventually they'll have it on there for sale. I know it was just recently a Kickstarter, which is where I got it through, but if you're interested in it, definitely check that out. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, it has to do with this particular D&D YouTuber's channel. So if you do not know this particular YouTuber, there's his channel link, but he goes by the channel name The GM Philosopher. I'm only now, because I actually see the link to his page. I'm guessing his name is Josh, because it says GM Josh, and that's like an old YouTube link there. But yeah, so he is making, he basically makes like almost daily content. As you can see, he has, you know, content coming out almost every day. Really cool, interesting, you know, perspectives that he offers. Constantly putting out stuff about, you know, tips and tricks for GMs. Recently talking about how to, you know, make your game a little bit more open, a little bit more sandboxy, how to recover if you're having a bad D&D session. If you're a DM and you're, you know, trying to research things, about how better to research stuff, and all kinds of different things. So I've been following him for a little bit of time now and watching his videos here and there. And recently, over on his Discord channel, he put up a contest. The contest in question, let me scroll all the way up on his panel, was to create magical, wondrous item / artifact, a one-page creation contest. The objective was to create an ultimate wondrous magical item artifact that fits on a single page and be formatted as a single page PDF to qualify. And it must use in some way, shape, or form 3 details. It needs to include trolls, constellations, and the term or idea of chain. Now, he puts in there, you know, how you use these is really up to you, but it's just make it add it to, submit it, and there we go. Now, there was a ton of people that submitted this. So, I think there was, I want to say there was in total 11 people. So there was 3 different rounds of voting. And they had some really cool ones out there. Let me pull some of these up, because I know I definitely looked at a couple of these. But I don't think I looked at all of them. So you know what? Let's take a look. All right. So, wait, I don't want to zoom in that way. Thank you, Destructor. I really appreciate the follow. So here we go. We had the Astronomer's Chainmail of Trolling. So this was used by user Avery. So medium armor, legendary. So it gives you a +2 to AC, some radiant and resistance to radiant damage. Once per long rest, you can use Sunbeam, and then it gives the description of Sunbeam. The armor has quick wit and sharp retort for anyone foolish enough to strike it once per day. You can cast Vicious Mockery. So cool. So they definitely went the route of troll as trolling people. That's definitely not a way that I considered it. Hey, Destructor, thanks again for coming by. I really appreciate you hanging out with us for a bit and offering up some really good perspectives on some D&D stuff. Definitely come by, and also thanks for joining the Discord. It's very kind of you, and hope to talk to you in the future, man. Enjoy your sleep. I know that's gonna be in my future very soon. So that's a fun one. I remember seeing this art actually. I don't know if this is the one that I actually sent him, but I had somebody ask me to try out some art on Midjourney, but this one says ChatGPT, so he must have used his own. Sabashir's Chain Sword, so it's a chained scimitar. We got a +3 to hit and damage. Targets take an additional 3d8 damage of choice. Oh, cool. So you get to choose what kind of damage it does. Additionally, creature hit by this weapon cannot regain hit points until the start of your next turn. Oh, that's right. I remember this one now so much more. He had sent me the original details of it. It had like a sort of scorpion ability where you could draw people in. That one was cool. What else we got? We got the Staff of the Bloodthirsty Trollkin. This is by Manodogs. The last one, by the way, the Chainsword, was by Herman Ator. So this one's by Manodogs, usable only by troll shamans. I really like the hand-drawn art. That's really fucking cool. I wish I could draw. I really wish I could draw. All right, what do we got? Staff may be used once per day at the cost of 1 action. Trolls' actions are reduced to 1 per turn while brandishing the staff, or 2 per turn when used as a melee weapon. Oh, I really think this is made for 2E. For Pathfinder. Because in Pathfinder, you have a multiple action system. When activated, it casts Chain Lightning at 6th level, regardless of the shaman's level, ignoring metal armor AC. Victims receive ST versus rods for half damage. Oh, no, he's literally saying, like, there is part of this that is used for 5E and part that is used for 2E. That's a lot. There's a lot of balance there. So what else we got? Staff affects those susceptible to magic attacks only, regardless of how it's wielded, but receives no bonus to hit. It's a cool translation. Late in the harvest month, it casts as 7th level, regardless of the shaman's level. Can also be wielded by witch doctors during this time, but only functions at 6th level. There's a lot to this. It also has unlimited charges. Each turn a strike is successful, adds +1 to his morale. Okay, yeah, this is using like 2 different systems, or maybe 3 different systems. That is kind of crazy, if you ask me. Crazy. What else we got? We have the Star of the Grove by DM Steve. It's a fragment of a fallen star imbued with the raw power of nature's essence. Sacred relic is guarded by Garthuk the Troll, a sworn guardian of the forest, whose very life is now chained to the star. Okay, so what do we got? When attuned, you gain the following: a +2 to charisma and wisdom to a maximum of 22 each, a +1 to constitution, and a +3 to spell attack rolls. So that alone already makes this a legendary item. Okay, it can be used as spellcasting focus. Great. It has several spells from the druid list which can be cast using the star as a focus. The DM can choose specific spells like cure wound and tank. Okay, so while attuned, you're immune to being charmed or magically put to sleep. You have advantage on persuasion and deception checks. This is already so much. Jeez, oh man. Rooted restoration. So you grow roots, you can't be moved, you can heal yourself or a creature within 5 feet of you for 48 hit points, a number of times per day equal to proficiency. And that's a bonus action. Holy shit. Seed of Wrath is an action. You can throw the star to a point within 60 feet. It burrows into the ground, and roots explode from the earth. In a 20-foot radius, each creature makes a DC 14 dex save or takes 68 bludgeoning damage. Okay. The Curse of Greed. If a creature other than Garthuk attunes to the star, they are overcome with an insidious curse. It twists their thoughts, filling them with an insatiable desire for power and control. While cursed, the attuned creature becomes obsessed with the star and will go to any lengths to keep it. They view others as threats to their possession of the star and become, oh, I don't like that already, become distrustful even to allies. Each time the attuned creature uses its abilities, you must make a DC 15 wisdom save or be compelled to act in selfish or harmful ways. I don't like that. I don't mind curses, but I don't like curses that it's like, you know, you become distrustful of allies. And I'm guilty of it myself, of putting stuff into campaigns that has like drummed this up. My hope is always that it can be done in a playful and fun way, but sometimes it just sows distrust and woe into the party. Twice I did it in P5, very far apart from one another, but in one of the original, in the Dragon of Icespire Peak campaign, when the players go to the dwarven excavation, there's a coffer inside one of the pillars that the players can get, and it has a thing where you make a wisdom save, and if you fail, you become greedy. You don't want anyone else to hold it, which is one thing. You know, you can be greedy and not want to give something up. There was also another one that made players like more, it made it easier to attack elves, because it was for it was like was it orcs? No, it wasn't orcs. I forget what it was. I think it was orcs. Yeah, no, it was orcs. It was totally orcs. But it was like a pendant that when you had it, you were cursed by elves thought you were awful. You were like very distasteful towards elves, and it was easier for you to hit elves. And that was it. It's like it's so hard to just suddenly describe it, and it's like, okay, cool. We're gonna have to cast, we're gonna have to cast remove curse, blah blah blah. Like, it's fine. But again, this I don't care much for this. I don't care for things that it's like, hey, we're gonna incite PvP. I would maybe just get rid of that. Like, or like this, like you're compelled to act in selfish and harmful ways, because obviously if you're making this an item, it's got to go to anybody but Garthok. So, that's at least my opinion of it. All right, up next we have the Broken Slave Chain Belt by Tarnik. It's a wondrous item. It requires attunement by a prey. Wait, it requires attunement by a prey to anyone who listens for the strength to survive. Okay. Unknown slave in a final act of desperation, be free from the bonds of slavery, offers a prayer to any deity listening. Pleaded with any deity listening, provided them with resilience to survive, and when the stars align, the strength to take advantage and escape the bonds of slavery. The only deity who heard the plea was insert name of trickster god in your world. We'll go with Oladamara. As a trickster deity, they answered the prayers of the unknown slave, provided them with both resilience and strength. So the Broken Slave Chain Belt can generally be found in a broken state, approximately 4 feet in any length. The links of the chain have the constellations of all the trickster deities etched into it. Placing it around the waist, the chain reforms automatically to fit the waist, kind of like the One Ring from Lotor. This item is cursed, can only be removed by remove curse or spell-like ability. Okay, so while the belt is attuned, the creature can now eat anything they can catch and devour. If the creature does not have predatory teeth, they grow them. Jesus. Trolls desire only food and treasure. The creature becomes difficult to control, doing as they please, even when working with more powerful creatures. Increase Constitution by 5 and decrease Charisma by 5. Holy shit. Regains 10 hit points at the start of the turn if they take... So this is literally just giving you the troll regeneration. The regenerative capabilities make trolls especially susceptible to mutation. Although uncommon, such transformations can result from what the creature has done or what has been done to it. A decapitated creature might grow 2 heads from the stump, while a troll that eats a fake creature might gain 1 or more of the traits. Alright, on a clear night when the trickster's constellation, the power you get... I'm not a huge fan of this. I don't like this. That's rough. Like, I mean, increasing Constitution plus 5 to a maximum of 25 means that you could theoretically have a plus 7 to Charisma, and or not 7 to Charisma, but a plus 7 to Constitution. And I mean, I don't know. I don't care much for this one. What do we got next? We got the Old Ball and Chain. You're transformed into a troll. Okay, you have so you become large. You gain 3 points of strength. You lose 1 point of intelligence and 1 point of... Is that 3 points as in your ability score? Or is that your modifier? You have constant flash. Jesus Christ. So you can fart poison. You gain regeneration. Okay, so it's a sentient item. And it's either nagging you once per short rest. You can reroll any d20 test of your choice. So it's giving you advantage, and you can gain the benefits of foresight. Jesus Christ. Attuning to curses you, you're a target by... as long as you remain cursed, you cannot remove it. If you're able to remove the cursed item, you can never attune to it again, as Grop realizes you are not her husband, Beefy. Jesus. Troll Gut Chainmail. Chainmail appears to be forged not from metal, but from the strange sinewy material resembling troll intestines. Alright, so troll intestines, so you get an AC of a 16. What do we got? We got once per long rest. You can activate it as a bonus action for the next 10 minutes. You regenerate 5 hit points at the start of your turn, regardless of your current health. However, at the end of this duration, you shed a layer of smelly troll-like skin, leaving a green, gooey, pus-like residue behind. The goo is considered difficult terrain. So after 10 minutes, you create an area, a 5-foot area, I guess, of difficult terrain. Your tummy rumbles when you're in danger, which I guess mechanically would give you advantage on initiative, maybe? Or you could not be surprised. When the Milky Way is visible in this argues that you're in our own galaxy. When the Milky Way is visible in the sky, you have to roll Constitution saving throw DC 13 or suffer the poison condition. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to point out. When the Milky Way is visible in the sky, if this takes place on Earth, which is where we are in the Milky Way cluster, that is not cluster, galaxy. That is the galaxy we exist in. When you look out at the sky and there is no light pollution, the band of stars and everything and stardust that we see through is the Milky Way, which means, and it's only visible at certain places on Earth, but it's always there. The Milky Way is either always visible where you are or not visible at all. Like, it's either always or not. So, like, depending on where you are, and being that we're taking into consideration that this is in a fantasy world, that would argue that society does not have the potential technology or the level of industry to provide enough light pollution to wash out the visibility of the Milky Way and of this night sky. This is why when you live near cities or you live in the suburbs, or I mean, in a lot of places just across the world now, and you go out and you look at the night sky, you don't see much. One, could be a lot of cloud cover and you just can't see through the clouds at night. That's one thing. But if it's a clear night, the reason why we can't see the stars is for the same reason that when you turn a light on in a car at night, it gets harder to see what's on the other side of the glass, what's through the windshield. It's because the light on the inside of the car is now reflecting off the inside pane of glass and back into your eyes, making it harder to see. When light on Earth hits the sky, the same reason, like the atmosphere that surrounds Earth reflects some of that. There is light pollution from that. Okay. So this is such a weird thing. What I would change this to, just as an idea, I would change this to be that when a certain constellation is visible, or when make it tied to the moon, okay? Make it tied to, you know, when the moon is in a certain phase, like if it's in its waning gibbous, or it's, you know, it's a new moon or a full moon or something like that. But, you know, don't make it when the Milky Way is visible. One, that has to rely on it taking place on Earth. Two, that it's either always or it's not. So, also the fact that it's just giving you poisoned until you make a short or long rest. So it's like, great. So I now have disadvantage on all checks until I sit for an hour and like catch my breath. But guess what happens immediately after that? The Milky Way is now in the sky. It always is. So, I don't know. Troll's breath. When you don't wear the armor, it breathes heavily like an obese man with no nose. All right, so me. If you take it off while sleeping, you may awake to the sound of it snoring. You can nudge it to make it stop, but it will inevitably... Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Oh, man. That is amazing. Troll Gut Chainmail by Rylan133. Hilarious. This was the other one. I actually, sadly, I didn't read that other one. I didn't read the Troll Gut one. I did read this one, though. Zod Kargalet, Crown of Stars, and Chain of Souls. This crown is made of jagged shards of roughly purified silver with two large spikes protruding like horns. It's filled with gems containing a gentle inner starlight, and there's barely enough metal to secure all the gems. Yeah, so... This grows stronger the longer trolls worship the bearer under starlight, but troll slaying will grow the bearer's power faster. A living troll worshiping the troll lord for 100 nights will give the bearer... This is the thing that I didn't like about this. This introduces a brand new... This introduces a system that is associated with the item. So... A living troll worshiping the troll lord for 100 nights gives the bearer a soul star point, but slaying a troll will grant both a soul star point and a star scepter. Star soul points can be spent to enhance abilities or collected to empower some. The crown starts with 2 random level 1 abilities. This had too much. That was the thing I did not care much for. So Wise Bow, Fool's Flee. Once per encounter. That's another thing I didn't care for. Once per encounter. Choose whether you admit an aura of benevolence or cause the fear condition. Trolls must make a contested roll against your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma to either willingly fall under your roll or be forced to flee in fear. Shackled with stars, ethereal shackles appear around your wrist. Around the wrists of trolls under your command, they obey your orders even to death. When they die, shackled trolls become +1 SP and a star specter. Oh, I thought this said scepter for a moment. Specter. Once per day, you can cast a limited Gesh spell on a creature that has used magical healing. Creatures with generation are disadvantaged to resist. Yeah, there was just a lot I did not care much for. There was just too much here. Like, it's just, I don't want to have to, like, manually track a bunch of points, and also I don't care the fact that it's creating it's creating like minions essentially. So this was made by Whispering Wisp and also known as Forge 357. Now, so these are the ones that did not win the initial rounds of voting. The 3 that won their their rounds, we are going to look at next. So first off was The Cloak of the 12 Cosmic Constellations by Dirty Socks 1990. So, origin and purpose: Marith, the Spirit King, guardian of the Celestial Vaults. This cloak acts as a conduit for the 12 constellations, allowing the wearer to channel their celestial power to protect the world. So, as it says here, it's midnight blue, shimmering with starlight. The 12 constellations shift across the cloak's surface. When activated, the stars realign to reflect the active constellation. I really like that idea. I really like just the thought of a cloak with a bunch of constellations, and then they shift to form the one that you choose. Clipped around the neck by 12 small stones, tiny stars that glow with celestial energy. So in general, the main abilities, regardless of any of the constellations, are that once per day, you can meditate for a minute to receive guidance from Marith, which essentially gives you the augury spell. You get a yes/no question or insight into a future event, which is going to give you advantage on wisdom saving throws, and it gives you advantage on wisdom saves against being charmed or afraid. So this is the passive. The active ability, Astral Convergence as an action. Choose a point within 60 feet. A 20-foot radius explosion of radiant energy deals 3d6 radiant damage, DC 16 dex save for half. For 1 minute, gain the ability to use one of the 12 constellations once per long rest. So for 1 minute, you get the ability to use one of these 12 constellations. The Kraken, the Abyssal Horror. This gives you spectral tentacles that erupt, I imagine, around you, with a DC 15 strength save that you can use to restrain enemies. And you gain resistance to cold and can breathe underwater. I think there needs to be more to this. There just needs to be more phrasing. Like, spectral tentacles erupt. Where do they erupt? How many of them are there? What is there to hit? Do they deal damage, or do they simply grapple enemies? Restrained is a condition, but so is grappled. So what is it doing? I mean, a DC 15 strength save is good to know, but there needs to be a little bit more here that kind of gives guidance into that, where it should say, like, 1d4, or like, even if it's just 4, because God knows it's not going to be 8, even 2 would be fine. Like, 2 spectral tentacles erupt from the cloak and can target creatures within 5 feet of the wearer. And then put after that, like, +5 to hit. If it hits a creature, that creature makes a DC 15 strength save or is restrained until the creature, for the minute, until they escape, or for 1 minute, because that's how long this ability lasts. So this is one of those things where, it just kind of is. I don't actually like the fact. I think the passive, I don't think the passive is only for a minute. In my opinion, the way that I would run this in my game, I would have this only be for the active ability. But this is kind of where I said there needs to be more to this. 2 Dirty Socks. Reduce the size of your font and add more detail. the formatting in here is a bit rough. But the way that I would run this is, I would say for 1 minute, you can activate one of the 12 constellations, and, you know, like once per long rest, like at the end of a long rest, you can choose one of the constellations. You know, or once per long rest, choose one of the constellations, and then for 1 minute, you can activate its active ability, but you have its passive during that whole time. So, if that is the case, it makes a lot more sense. The fact that passive is just until you finish a long rest. And that honestly that might be the way that it could be worded. It kind of just needs like a reformatting, in my opinion. And yes, I know you said it before, but this one is kind of hard to read. But I will admit, this looks like it was made on Homebrewery or GM Binder. It is introducing an image into stuff is always going to be touchy. And I give him credit for the fact that he was able to get multiple colors on the same, like, when you work on Homebrewery or GM Binder, the fact that he was able to change the color of these means that he had to understand how to do individual line editing, and that is not fun to do. So damn. All right, so what up next? We have the Raven, the Silent Harbinger. The active ability of Shadow Flight, you get to teleport 30 feet to dim light or darkness. Passive is advantage on stealth checks and 120 feet dark vision. The Tempest, reaction to melee hit, deal 2d8 lightning damage and push the attacker. Again, there needs to be more details to this. This is fine. This is fine, but push the attacker. Are you pushing them away? Can I choose to knock them prone? How far are they pushed? Is it 5 feet? Is it 10 feet? I don't know that. Resistance to lightning and thunder is great. The Crown, Regal Command, inspire up to 3 allies, granting them temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier +5. That's good. Passive, +2 bonus to charisma. Okay, that's fine. That needs to say score after that. +2 bonus to charisma, depending on the kind of game, depending on how you run stuff. Is this a +2 to your modifier, or is it to your charisma score? That is, Homebrew, meant to be viewed by the public, needs to be specific. It needs to be very precise in its language. This was something that a long time, not a long time ago, but this was something that I've talked about so many times in my Discord and on this channel. You need to be precise in your language, because it's that precision that allows somebody reading this to not have to fiddle with how it is being designed and not have to worry about introducing it to their table without having to do their own work to it. The Golem, the Unyielding Sentinel, gain temporary hit points equal to twice your level and resistance to mundane damage. You get a +1 to Constitution, and you cannot be moved against your will. Okay, again, +1 to Con, score, cool. The Bloom, Nature's Renewal, restore 3d8 hit points to yourself or an ally, resistance to necrotic damage, and once per long rest, cure 1 poisoned or disease condition. Okay. The Stag, move 20 feet, deal an additional 2d10 radiant damage, and knock in a target prone, DC 15 strength save, and a +2 to wisdom. So, okay. Here's the problem that I had with this. This says Celestial Charge. So is this like the Charger ability and the charge attack from like Minotaurs and stuff, where if you, like, this should say, if you move 20 feet towards an enemy or towards a creature and make an attack, your attack deals an additional 2d10 radiant damage, and you can attempt to knock the creature prone by imposing a DC 15 strength save. So it's like, I get what it's getting at, but the wording just needs fixed. The Titan, Earth Shatter, strike the ground to deal 2d10 bludgeoning damage and knock creatures prone. It's kind of very similar to that. Double carrying capacity and +1 to strength saves. Okay. The Troll gain 5 hit points at the start of each of your turn, +10 max hit points. Okay. Wings of the Dragon gain a fly speed of 40 feet for the day, +2 to wisdom saves. Okay. The Owlbear, move 20 feet, deal 2d8 slashing damage, knock creatures prone, 120 feet of dark vision, advantage on perception checks. This is probably one of the better ones. This is just honestly probably in my, like, I get that this gives you a flying speed, which can be broken with some games. This gives you an ability to deal extra damage, knock creatures prone, gain dark vision, and gain advantage on one of the most important skills in the game. Advantage on a perception check gives you a +5 to your passive. So if you're playing a character who has, say, you know, the observant feat, where you get bonuses to your passive, you know, perception, this is going to give you a +5 to that, especially if you have a high wisdom. This, like, if you're a druid, my God. And lastly, the Manticore, unleash a volley of spikes, dealing 2d8 piercing damage up to 3 creatures. DC, okay, again, just there needs to be more to this. Obviously, it says DC 15 dex save. Is this 3 creatures? What's the range? Can I do this up to 120 feet? Is it up to 60 feet, 30 feet? Is it within 10 feet? What is the range that I'm looking at? It says that it can be up to 3 creatures. Can I do 68 piercing damage to 1 creature? And if I do they have to make separate saves for each one? Also, why am I not rolling to hit? Why are the enemies rolling to avoid, you know, taking the damage? Because if I'm targeting creatures, I should be rolling to hit. Arguably, I can't say that I know the Manticore's stat block off by heart, but yeah, sorry. The Tail Spike is a ranged weapon attack. It's not an AoE. If it was an AoE, then it should not be that there's a certain amount of creatures. It should be unleash a volley of spikes in a 15-foot cone, dealing 2d8 piercing damage to all creatures in the cone, DC 15 dex. That's the thing. If there is a chance that it can hit multiple enemies in an area, that's generally when you do a saving throw, because it's the target's ability to move out of the way of that effect. This is why Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Acid Splash is a terrible example, because I actually don't think that is a oh no, it is. It totally is. Okay, yeah. So if it's something where it's an AoE, that is where you do saves, dex saves specifically. If it's something, though, where you can target a certain amount of creatures, or you are targeting a particular blast that specifically targets a certain creature, that's when you roll to hit, because that's your ability to find your target. Now, granted, you know, they have an AC. That's their ability to avoid the damage, whether it's light armor and their ability to, you know, dodge, or it's heavy armor and it's their ability to withstand the attack. that's taken into account, but shouldn't be a deck save. Okay. So this was, like I said, this was Dirty Socks Cloak of the 12 Cosmic Constellations. The next one was John Haney. Oh, wait. No, stop doing that. This is the Missing Links. Legend has it that long ago, when the world was young, 5 adventurers were attempting to navigate a new path through the mountains when they encountered a troll. The creature had apparently slain many men, for the broken bits of many weapons protruded from its putrid hide. The troll seemed determined to add more trophies to its skin and attacked. Never having encountered a troll, they were amazed at its amazing regenerative capabilities. Although they eventually deduced its weakness to fire and defeated it, the battle raged late into the night. By the end of the ordeal, one of the young explorers was mortally wounded and lay bleeding on the mountainside. One of the companions, unable to help but unwilling to give up on his friend, looked to the night sky and prayed for a sign. In that moment, a constellation known as the Healer seemed to glow a bit brighter for a fleeting second and sent a beam of light towards the decimated body of the slain troll. One of the weapon pieces embedded in its hide, a chain from an old flail, perfectly mirrored the outline of the Healer constellation. The young man tore the chain out of the monster and wrapped it around his friend's body. Almost instantly, the wounds closed. Mere moments later, the young man made a full recovery. The group marveled that the chain, through the power of the divine constellation, had absorbed the troll's power. They used the chain on their adventurers for many years. When they were able to afford it, they hired a skilled artificer to forge each link into a ring. Although the regenerative powers were somewhat diminished, the rings still aided them in battle for many years to come. One day, the band split to the corners of the world, each eventually succumbing to the heat of battle, the ravaging of disease, or the inevitability of old age, and their rings were buried with them. No records were kept of these heroes' final resting places, other than the ballads of old legends that many believe that the rings are still out there. So, the items themselves, and I say themselves because there's multiple in a sense. The Missing Links. Rings. These rings first appear as simple iron bands, a testament to their humble beginnings as links of a chain on a flail. However, upon closer inspection, one will notice that some of the pockmarks are intentional, mimicking the constellation of the Healer, which inspired their first use. These tiny pockmarks glow astral white whenever the ring's powers are used. While wearing any of the missing links, you automatically gain 2 HP at the start of your turn if you're below your hit point maximum. This power stacks if you're wearing more than one ring. Therefore, if you're wearing 2, you gain 4 at the start of your turn. If you're wearing all 5, you gain 10. The power is halted if you take fire damage. However, as you add more of the missing links, you gain additional characteristics of the troll from which the ring originally gained its power. Upon wearing 2 rings, a strange hunger for organic substances other than traditional food, such as tree bark, leather boots, cotton blankets, and fur coats, begins to overtake you. Each day that you wear 2 or more of the missing links, roll a charisma save. On a failure, you must find and consume 1 ration's worth of some strange substance. So the DC is 1, and it increases by 1 for each subsequent day. So likely you're not going to fail this for some time, but eventually, probably within like 2-10 days, you're probably going to need to eat something weird. So I will be completely honest. That's kind of where I would probably start to limit. But you can take them off. You can take them off. There's nothing that says you can't. So you can always remove them. So 2 is probably where I would limit myself. And the reason for that is because upon wearing 3, your strength and con score increases by 2, but your intelligence and charisma decrease by 2. that's a hard thing. That's a hard sell for me. The loss of intelligence and charisma means that you become more susceptible to spell effects, and I don't care much for that. Also, it also means that half of the classes you can play in the game don't really work anymore. You know, wizard, artificer, bard, warlock, sorcerer, their intelligence or charisma based. On top of that, you have subclasses that don't really make good use of this then. You know, Eldritch Knight Fighter, Arcane Trickster Rogue. Again, anything really that's using intelligence or charisma doesn't really make sense to wear more than 2 of these things. Wearing 4, you become vulnerable to acid and fire. Fire is one of the most common damage types. So you now take double that damage. Even getting plus 8 HP back at the start of every round, you can take a fireball to the face, and that fireball might have only dealt 20 some points of damage, but you're taking double that. So that's rough to kind of to take into account. And wearing all 5 polysyllabic words no longer make sense to you, and in fact make you angry. When somebody uses a word longer than 3 syllables, roll a charisma save, DC 1, each increasing by 1 for each subsequent word, and on failure, you must attack them or run away from the speaker interior. Give me 1 second, I gotta grab something that dropped on the floor. Sorry about that. My Elgato game capture card fell. I recently took it out to put in a different module on my computer. So, like, here's the one thing that I don't like about this last effect. This not only if you are willing to take on the buff from 3 rings, the increase to strength and con and the decrease to intelligence and charisma likely means that you are a barbarian or a fighter. You also have lower inhibitions and charisma, and now suddenly you are potentially randomly becoming violent any time that somebody says the word parabola, or that somebody says the word, artificer. Like, it's something now that you have to attend to. When somebody uses a 3-syllable word, you might potentially attack your allies. It inspires PvP, and I don't care for that. Jalapeno beef jerky. I forgot I had it sitting next to me. Pretty good. So, I think these are fine. I actually am planning on introducing these to one of my campaigns, but I think I think it should just be something where it's like only one of them. That's my thing. 2 at most. Like, I think these are really cool, and I might change a little bit of their flavor, but I really like this. I like the fact that these are like tied to a troll's death, that they're blessed by the stars, that they give you this, this healing ability in a way. But one of the reasons why it's such a good item is because the Ring of Regeneration. Exactly. Steve has a ring like that. He has a Ring of Regeneration. So not only is this giving you, the Ring of Regeneration is giving you, on average, 3.5 hit points every 10 minutes, which granted isn't as much as this, because this is 2 hit points every turn as long as you're below your. So this is This one's giving it to you every 6 seconds. This is every 10 minutes. The Ring of Regeneration, though, recovers body parts after a certain amount of days. So that one, pretty decent. But this is nice, too. Like, this... Here's the only thing, though. This is pretty easily abused in a sense. Go into combat. You have 5 party members. You have, let's say you have all 5 rings. Let's just say you do. You go into combat. You do your fight. You do your battle. And then as soon as you're done with battle, all right, we're taking a short 10-minute break. I am going to put on all 5 rings. I'm now recovering 10 hit points every 6 seconds. So in the next minute, I recover 100 hit points. Okay? And then I take the rings off and I hand them to the next person. They put them on. 1 minute goes by, 100 hit points recovered. In 5 minutes, we have now recovered 500 hit points and can move on with our lives. It's crazy. And even if you had 1 ring, that is still 20 hit points per minute. Okay? In order to get that out of a healing potion, which is 2d4 plus 2, 2d4 is on average 5 hit points, okay? That is 7 hit points on average that you can get with a bonus action. And that costs 50 gold for each one. So, except for attunement. Sure, attunement takes an hour, okay? But still, the argument here is that and sure, that is a way to, that the attunement is a way to combat it. But even still, if 5 people are attuned to 1 ring each, if you have a party of 5 and everyone has at least 1 ring, you're recovering 20 hit points per minute, which means even if you and your party sit there for 5 minutes, you're each recovering 100 hit points. Which brings me back to the point I said before. If one person has 5 rings for 1 minute, that's 100 hit points. 5 people, 500 hit points. Even if you're all wearing 1 ring each, and you sit there for 5 minutes, you have all just recovered 100 hit points. It's too much. It needs to be. It needs to not be every turn. If it was while in combat, that's at least like an argument to make, like, you know, or as an action once a day, you can activate the ring. For the next minute, you gain 2 hit points at the beginning of each of your turns. That at least limits it to 20 hit points per day. And I will admit, it's a very rare item. It is a higher level thing. It needs to be legendary. It just needs to be legendary. That's just a thing. It needs to be legendary. All right, so moving on from Dirty Sock's cloak and John's missing links, we're gonna check out mine. Now, as I mentioned over my Discord, mine did win the competition. I think all of these have great merits to them all, and I'm sure people can find flaws with mine. You know, that's the beautiful thing about homebrew. So, but we'll take a look at mine real quick. As you can tell, this is very much my homebrew because it has my standard formatting, you know, the black leather background, the red. So, but the thing that I created is right here. This is the Chain of Stellar Wrath, and this is Thorvir the Starbinder, the fire giant who created it. So, Chain of Stellar Wrath is a whip that requires Attunement by a creature of the giant type or a follower of the giant pantheon. This divine chain whip forged by the fire giant shaman Thorvir. I'll you know what? Yeah, I'll skip there. No, I'll keep that going. Is composed of glowing star-like links imbued with celestial fire. Each link reflects a constellation, shifting faintly as though alive, and radiates a fiery aura. Created to strike down trolls and halt their regeneration, this weapon channels the heaven's wrath through its blazing attacks, embodying Thorvir's divine crusade against the enemies of the Jotun. So, this basic chain. It has, its finesse, has reach, 1d8 slashing, 1d6 fire damage. Once per short rest, as a bonus action, you can align the weapon to a specific constellation, unlocking a temporary effect for 1 minute. The Scorching Flame. The fire damage increases by 2d6, so your weapon deals 1d8 plus 3d6 fire, and your attacks ignite flammable objects not being worn or carried. Additionally, the creature takes 2d6 fire damage at the start of their next turn as lingering flames scorch them. The flames can be extinguished as an action. Then we have the Heaven's Chains. On a successful attack, the target is restrained by the Radiant Chains with a DC 20 strength check to escape. While restrained, the target takes 2d8 radiant damage at the start of their turn, and any attempt to teleport or plane shift automatically fails. And lastly, we have the Blazing Aegis. The chain forms a protective aura around you. You gain immunity to fire damage and a +4 bonus to AC. As a reaction, when a creature within 15 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can interpose the chain, reducing the damage by 2d10 plus your con modifier. So we have a basic chain weapon. We then have a bonus every once per short rest for a minute that is either combat damage oriented, is either utility control oriented, or is defensive oriented. I kind of wanted to make sure that I had each one of those represented for different play styles. Then we have the Stellar Light. This weapon sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius, dim light for an additional 20. And as a bonus action, you can intensify the light, forcing creatures within 30 feet to make a DC 16 con save or be blinded until the end of their next turn. The reason why I only did 3, truth be told, is just because I did not have space and I wanted to include Thorvir's stuff. I also didn't want there to be so many options. Here's the thing. This kind of goes back to the thing I talked about in the Vendors of the Veil book. When you present your players with an item that has 12 different abilities, that means that every time a scenario or an encounter or a situation comes up, they now have to grapple with 12 different options that they have to decide amongst. And sometimes they're going to make the right call, and sometimes they're going to make the wrong decision. And since that one can only be changed once per long rest, it's something that they really have to decide on. What am I going to have the benefit of today? And there's so many options that you have a lot to pick through. Okay. I wanted something that was going to be combat focused. This is a weapon. This is not a piece of utility. This is not a piece of armor. This is not just a regular magic item. This is a weapon. This was specifically designed to kill trolls. So my thought process was, I want an ability that is going to intensify the damage output and also potentially cause damage to the surroundings. So this is why we increase the fire damage and why when you hit a creature, you set them on fire. I also wanted something that was going to give you a little bit of control, because in my opinion, there's generally 3 different styles of, offensive, or not offensive, but like you have offensive, you have like direct offensive, you have control of the battlefield, and then you have defensive play. So Control is the Heaven's Choice. You restrain them and you deal a little bit of extra damage to them, and you're stopping them from being able to teleport. So again, it's all about control. And then lastly, you have a defensive play style. Bonus to AC, immunity to fire, and you also have something that you can defend your allies. So again, I'm not trying to cover every scenario and every base, under the sun. This is a weapon that allows you to pick what kind of combat style you want in that moment. And honestly, you might pick the same one all the time. If you're playing a paladin who eventually gets this, you might always have the blazing Aegis. Okay, in my mind, it was kind of like the chain. As you have the chain, you're like spinning it almost like a shield. Okay. So it's like you're using it as a weapon, but it's also a defensive ability. So you might have like the interception fighting style, or the like an ability that allows you to stop people from taking damage. I can't remember what that other fighting style is. It's not interception. Maybe it's the defensive one. But like, that's why I just picked the three different play styles. Keep it simple. Up next, we have Giant's Wrath. Against creatures of the giant type, the chain deals extra radiant damage, 2d8 extra radiant damage, and against trolls, it deals additional 2d8 fire damage. I did mean to put in this, okay? And I did not... I didn't realize that I submitted the one that didn't have this, and I never just went back and changed it. I meant to put in here, under Giant's Wrath, that like this specifically this was specifically designed to stop trolls regeneration, and I kind of began to expand upon this as I started writing Thorvir's like story of a sort of campaign style pathway that like players who are going out looking for this would be the end result of a campaign or like a big adventure. But my thought with that adventure was kind of around players having to fight trolls that even when dealt fire damage, they can still regenerate. Because they're being bolstered by Vaprik, the god of trolls. It was a fun idea. It was something I was going to put in here. I never did, just because like it wouldn't necessarily make sense. But it definitely was something. It definitely was something that I had considered putting in there, like that. If when facing a creature with a regeneration property, this fire damage causes that to cease for like a certain amount of time, because like normally it's trolls regenerate unless within their last since their last turn they took fire damage or acid damage. Okay, this would be when you attack when you attack a troll or a creature with a regeneration ability that is halted by fire damage, this attack nullifies that ability for 24 hours, something like that. Again, I never got into the specifics of it. I never wrote up the details. It was just a thought that I had. And then lastly, with the abilities, we have the Seared Mark. Once per long rest, when you hit with this weapon, you can brand a creature with the chain. The mark glows faintly, allowing you to track it for 24 hours, as long as it's on the same plane of existence. One of the big things with this was I wanted something that could be tied to like the constellation of the Hunter. So Seared Mark was tied to that, because the idea of Thorvir is that he became a hunter. And it's actually in that extended like little backstory that I wrote. This is the celestial vault right here, that it was put into is in the constellation of the Hunter. Speaking of which, Thorvir, the Starbinder. So I mentioned before that this weapon was crafted, it was forged by Thorvir. So who is Thorvir? Well, Thorvir, known as the Starbinder, was a fire giant shaman born during an era when the Jotun clashed with numerous races, monstrous races. If you don't know, Jotun just means giant. Among these enemies were the trolls, creature whose unnatural resilience and feral nature made them relentless foes. So here's the thing, before I continue. Trolls know the giant language and are often associated with giants, but they are not giants. They are monstrosities of their own creation. So with that in mind, Thorvir, who is deeply spiritual and attuned to the cosmic order, viewed Vaprik, the god of trolls, as an intruder in the divine hierarchy of the Jotun pantheon. He saw trolls not as mere pests, but as an affront to the balance of the heavens. Guided by celestial visions, Thorvir embarked on a pilgrimage to the peaks of eternal flame, an ancient volcanic range sacred to the fire giants. There he constructed a forge fueled by both the volcanic heart of the mountains and the light of the stars. Calling upon celestial entities, Thorvir forged the Chain of Stellar Wrath, a weapon imbued with the fire of the Jotun and the power of the constellations. With this weapon, Thorvir began a crusade seeking out troll dens and strongholds, burning them to ash and branding the heavens with his victories. As the years passed, Thorvir's name became both revered and feared. Trollkind whispered tales of the flaming chain that could bind even their gods. When Thorvir grew old, he foresaw his own death in the stars. Refusing to let his weapon fall into unworthy hands, he entrusted the chain to the heavens, performing a final ritual atop his volcanic forge. The chain ascended into the sky, hidden in the celestial vault, guarded by the remnants of Thorvir's fiery spirit. And right there, we got Thorvir himself. So, like I said, I made this for a competition over in the GM Philosopher, the Philosophy Discord channel. It's DM Philosophy, but I know his channel is the DM Philosopher. But as I said, I kind of built a little bit more beyond this. Nothing that I submitted or anything like that to his contest, but just something that I worked a little bit on the side of, like, this quest idea of, trolls are now becoming a bigger, problem within the world and within the lands. So the players are kind of having to fight off a bunch of trolls and imagining like a lower CR troll, because the trolls are kind of formidable at lower levels, or making it a higher level campaign, like starting at level 10 and going up to 15 or like level 17, where these are seasoned adventurers, these are veterans, and suddenly the lands have become overrun by trolls, and they're fighting them, and they've dealt with trolls. They know fire and acid work, but they find out that fire and acid doesn't work. Why is that? What happens? So they end up, somebody gives them thank you, Stacy. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the bits. I kind of imagine them like finding out through some like, shaman or some oracle giving them like this prophecy in a way where it's like, there comes the champion of Vaprik who brings forth the celestial resilience of, fire to the trolls. And thus you must go to the forgotten forge of Thorvir to find the chains of stellar wrath and once again bring damnation to these monstrosities and abominations that tread this world. And so the players, they go to the forge. They find out it became a sacred place for trolls. They have to fight off a bunch of trolls there or something like that. Or that it's because it's in a volcano, or it's in a volcanic range. Maybe they have to fight fire elementals or whatnot. Whatever happens there. And then they find the forge. They find out that, like, okay, the Celestial Vault can only be accessed by using these 5 keys that were made to open the vault. And the 5 keys were given to, like, 5 shamans or 5 members of the different clans of giants. Because you have hill giants, frost giants, fire giants, cloud giants, and storm giants. So you have to traverse the world dealing with the trolls along the way and going to these different giants and having to kind of play into them. And truth be told, you could actually, I've never read it. It's not an adventure that I've ever ran or read, but I know there is an adventure called Against the Giants that, like, has you interact with a bunch of giants, so you could possibly work this storyline into that. And then in the end, okay, you get the 5 keys. You are unable to, you're not unable to, but you get the 5 keys. You go back to the forge. You use them to open up the pathway to the Celestial Vault, which is in the constellation of the Hunter. You travel into the heavens, and there you have to fight against the spirit of Thorvir himself, because he does not want the chains to fall into unworthy hands. And as long as you prove yourself worthy of his gift, he will bestow them upon you. And then the players have to go and fight the champion of Vaprik or an avatar of Vaprik or something like that. I don't know. Again, I think it could work if you kind of worked it around the Against the Giants. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Because you're wrong, I might be mixing something up. Thought it was called Against the... Oh, yeah, there it is. Tales from the Yawning Portal. I don't even know what it is. I just remember it. The preferred... okay, so wait, is this only Hill, Frost, and Fire? Giants have been raiding civilized lands, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, first stage. Soul, Frost, and Fire. Oh, okay, so it is only the first 3. Okay, I don't know. Maybe. I thought there was something different. Granted, it could be like you could play into this being, the Giants are now all up in a tizzy because of the because of the trolls, and you could play into it like that. That might be interesting or fun. I swear to God, there is something where you go and oh, Storm King's Thunder. I think this is the one where you deal with storm giants. Giant Society. I think, yeah, this is the one where you deal with storm giant. King Hecaton. Yeah. There's also the fact that, what was that one? Yeah, Big B presents Glory of the Giants. Giant Adventures, would you look at that? Can literally just use this one to come up with stuff. Yeah, I mean, each one of these, there you go. You got the enclaves that they might be at. Yeah, so there you go. If you like giants, you like, cool magic item that can go along with it, here you are, buddy. But yeah, I mean, I always like making homebrew. I always have a lot of fun with it. This was a really cool contest to enter, and I'm glad I won. I mean, I think everything that was submitted, it definitely has really cool aspects to it. You know, there's always going to be room to critique stuff, and you can always adjust things as you need them. So I'm just really happy I had this opportunity, and you know, I found out that I get a book, I get a PDF that the GM Philosopher made, and I guess I get a little shout out on a YouTube video of his. I thought it was just for internet points. I thought it was just like a pat on the back kind of thing. So happy to find that out today. So that's cool. I guess we'll find out a little more what happens later on down the line. All right, so I was going to work on something else tonight as well, but it's pretty late. It's about 2 a.m. right now, and I've been going for a little over 3 hours, which is nuts. This is the first time I've done a D&D&Chill in a while, and it's been a long one. I'll give you the general premise of what I was going to do tonight, and I might work on this more on Friday when I have some time. But recently, a friend of mine sent me this image from somewhere online where it says video games have buffering. One of the DMs I play with has like 70 slips of paper that say loading with bits of random D&D mechanics advice, such as partial cover grants +2 to AC, that he slots into his DM screen when he needs to look something up, assemble something, or think of a mechanic for player bullshittery. And I loved this idea. I think this is such a really fun idea to have essentially a loading screen or a buffering screen, or a pause screen in a way where you could put all kinds of different things, you know, in here. It could be stuff like, you know, you can move both before and after using your action or bonus actions. Attacking a prone creature gives melee attackers advantage. The dodge action gives advantage to dex saves, and enemies gain disadvantage when attacking you. Things that you might not necessarily think about all the time in D&D, that there's so many rules, there's so many different mechanics, and something like this would just be really fun to, if you're running on, if you're running physical, you know, oh, my eyes are so dry. You know, if you're running at a physical table, having, you know, a bunch of pieces of paper can definitely work. But I had the idea of making a bunch of these screens where it has these mechanics, maybe like a very simple, like, dungeon-y background, and put the letters in, you know, like up in front, and put like a little pause, you know, thing floating above it all. And just have these, you know, these tips and tricks kind of like fade in and fade out, so that this way, if I'm running my campaigns and I need to pause, or I need to look something up, or I need to walk away and go downstairs, or if I need to go to the bathroom, or I'm grabbing something to eat, put something like this up, I can just make it I can create a GIF or a video file, like an MP4, and then use that as a map file on my VTT, because the VTT that I use, you can use videos as maps to have like animated backgrounds. So I could essentially do that and just have it like, you know, move through the different tips. Now, the thing that I would have to figure out is to make sure that it would always go to like a different one. It would be really boring if it was always like the same order of tips, because, you know, you're not always going to have it playing, obviously, and it's something that you wouldn't want the same tip every time that it's coming up, so it should be a random thing, which I might have to figure out a different way to do that. But the first thing I have to do is kind of compile a list of the different tips and tricks that are there. So there's a reference site that I it's been around for the longest time, and it's recently been updated for 2024. And this is the link. It would definitely be realistic tips. It's going to be more mechanic tips. So, kind of like I said, because I asked a couple of my friends of mine if they, had similar tips. But like, for example, you can move both before or after using your action. Or going to this site at kroby.github.io, you can click each one of these to get further details on that particular thing. So this provides movement information, like it says here. You can move at any time during your turn, before, after, or during actions. That's a great tip. Right there is just a great tip. You can interact with one object or feature of the environment for free. You can take a bonus action only when a special ability, spell, or feature states you can do something as a bonus action. That's pretty self-explanatory, so I probably wouldn't use that. But like, again, you can use your movement at any time before, after, or during your actions. But getting into that, you can move through non-hostile creature space. Here's something that would have helped in my New Age campaign. Whether a creature is a friend or an enemy, you can't willingly end your move on its space or in its space. This was something that came up in the New Age adventure like 2 sessions ago, or like last session, when Aaron wanted to move into a friendly allies, or into a non-hostile creature space, make his attack, and then move out. And I said, no, you can't do that. And I eventually found this, but that's an explanation that, had that been on there, hey, maybe we would have already known that. Moving through another creature space is difficult terrain. You can only move through a hostile creature space if they're 2 sizes larger than you. If you have more than one type of speed, you can switch between them during your move. Like you could have a little tip that says if you have more than one type of speed, you can switch between them during your move. Plain and simple. And there's a lot of details in here, swimming, like, for example, swimming is considered difficult terrain unless you have a swim speed. Climbing is considered difficult terrain unless you have a climbing speed. When you are prone, you have to use half of your movement to stand up. To move while prone, you must crawl or use magic, such as teleportation. You can drop prone without moving. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't actually know that. See, this is what I mean. There's tips on here that even I don't know. Actually, that's a really interesting thought. I had the thought just now, why would you want to drop prone anyway? But if you're being targeted by a bunch of ranged attacks, dropping prone is beneficial to you, because now enemies have disadvantage. So that right there is a tip. Attacking a prone creature gives melee attackers advantage. I mentioned that before. Attacking a prone creature gives ranged attacks disadvantage. So you can see that there's a lot. There is a shit ton of different things that I could include. I just had a thought. 5e.souls has been acting up recently, so I'm kind of iffy on this thought. Hold on, I want to see something here. Where's my DM screen? Here. Oh my god, it does work. Oh my god. I never thought of this. I never took this into consideration. Like, oh my god. What if I make this a little bit smaller? How much is it going to affect this? Okay, it's just shrinking that up. What if I do that? That's so much worse. If I have this zoomed in, don't I? I do. Mm. Why is this white bar at the bottom of this screen? God, here's the thing. The other thing that I was going to say that I was going to use for a lot of these tips and tricks. So, friend of the channel, Ryan Doyle, of the Verdigris table, made these awesome DM screens recently with the update to the 2024 rules refresh. Just giving basic information on, what the abilities do, what the skills do, saving throws, what the standard DCs are, what your actions are, what can you do in your turns, what cover provides, what creature sizes are, vision, what conditions are, even more conditions, what a short rest is, what a long rest is, various hazards, attitudes of NPCs, areas of knowledge. Like, these kind of go with the skills, but like, this is really good information to have. But this is the one that I look at so often because I use this digital DM screen when I'm running my games, and it always lands on this one. And travel pace is so important to me. And this also has the information for concentration as well, which I often forget. Does this have travel pace? Environmental effects. It doesn't. See, half covers in there. That's good. Yeah, but like, I could also just click this and go to rules and do travel pace, and there it is. It's back. And I have that now. And I could even do actually, I don't think concentration was oh yeah, no, I know why. Concentration wasn't a thing for the longest time, because I had to do this concentration check equals half damage taken, or no, it was concentration check is 10 or half damage taken, whichever is higher. Yeah, because I have wealth, I have the weapons list, I have the armor and shields, the tools list, and what they can be used for. Expenses, so if I need like the cost of materials, and then travel pace and concentration is just utterly important for me. I never considered using this website as essentially like as a thing in here. And this seems to be working really well. So I might change how I do this. That seems so cool. All right. But yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna be working on this over time. I don't know how long how long it's gonna be before I have anything concrete. But just kind of wanted to share, what this idea was, and what I was gonna be doing with it. So, yeah, once I get things, really under wraps and figure out an idea, probably gonna post it up on my Discord as like a video file or a JPEG, or if it's like a folder of images that I can that I would have, then so be it. However I'm gonna do it, I don't know exactly, but we'll figure that out when the time comes. So yeah, thanks for joining me, everyone. I know tonight's been a different one. We saw a cool book with Vendors of the Veil, and checking out some other books, like the Enchanted Emporiums, some homebrew items, and also talking about some cool stuff from the GM Philosopher channel. So thanks to him for the opportunity to make a cool magic item and some lore tied to it. And yeah, we'll be checking in on those quick tips and tricks pause screen. So see what happens with it. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoy your day. Join me later today. I mean, today is now Thursday, so tonight we are going to be doing some first 15. So join me tomorrow, later today, all within the same 24-hour, I guess, period, for some first 15. So I'll see you guys there. Bye, everybody.